I didn't catch the first time that Ace Man says what's up.
Yeah. At the end, you know. God,
Didn't
welcome
quite grasp
back
that.
to Kind of Funny's The Shining in Review. That's right. We're ranking, reviewing, and recapping every Shining movie. Wow.
Not
There's two of
everyone.
them.
Ready Player One.
I guess you're right.
We're fucked up heavily.
I did go back and watch that entire scene again.
Okay.
Because I saw the
I thought
movie.
you were going to say the entire movie.
No.
Dedication.
That's commitment.
No, I saw the movie once in theaters, but I knew what they were doing clearly because they said it's The Shining and whatever. But I had no frame of reference. I just was like, oh, these moments. Watching it, I'm like, wow, they really commit to this. Like, did you watch it?
No, I've only read the book.
Yeah. Well, there's like a big scene with like all the blood, and then they like kind of surf on it a little bit.
No,
I mean,
no
I'm
fucking
not.
shot.
They don't surf, but they definitely like.
It's like,
Wade in
whoa.
it.
Look, they don't not surf. You know what I mean?
No, I feel like surfing's one of
Imagine
those
a
things-
giant Gears of War monster.
Yeah.
Kind of like trying to swim but not able to through the blood hallway because
They're
that's
kind of
what
just
happens.
wading through it.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, whoa. It looks like the Michael Bay Ninja Turtle movies,
Yeah.
but with blood instead of. What's
Justin
up, everyone?
Spielberg.
Like I was saying, I'm Tim Geddes. I'm joined by It's Christmas in October, Joey Noel.
There's an energy today, and I'm not gonna blame Cole being here, but I definitely think that was a factor, and everybody being a little
A little
a
loopy.
little loopy. Yeah, that's
There's a
probably
lot
the
of
right
loop
word.
for sure. I blame Greg. Greg's gone now, and it's definitely his fault. Okay.
Anytime he's out of the room, we
Always.
just blame him.
Yeah. We have the tastemaker, Roger Picorni.
Abracadabra.
And we have the producer slash seducer, Nick Scarpino.
They all float down here, Georgie.
And joining us now remotely, we have Madeline Stanley.
Yay!
I miss you guys.
I miss
you
you.
too.
I was
How
like,
you been in the last
Pretty
couple
good.
days?
Just chilling, catching up on this Alien Isolation stream,
oh,
watching
boy.
Nick do the thing.
Watching Nick do the thing. What a great way to put it. You know, we need to talk about this just a little bit
Oh.
because right before we went live, you know, Barrett was trying to help Madeline get her settings right, whatever. Nick walks in the room all super happy. Nick sits down, gets the mic, and just starts talking to Roger right next to him, but with the mic just essentially saying like, God, can you imagine this place without me? I'm just so fucking awesome. This place would fall apart
He
without me,
picked
whatever.
up the mic and started talking into the mic.
Yeah. And Roger had to just be like, what'd you say?
Oh shit! What did I say? I said, can
You
you
said you were like, hey, they're trying to do something. Or they're trying to, like,
can you stop talking?
Yeah.
Which is like the
Yeah.
most blunt that I've ever been. Like usually I talk around stuff, but I was just like, I feel poor Barrett. Like Barrett's not going to say anything because he wants to be polite. But I was like, Nick, we gotta
It's
look
the
at it.
content of what Nick was saying that just makes it so
I was
perfect.
asking Roger a very important question. Brad, what would you do if I wasn't here?
I don't know, man. There's never been a day where we haven't been here.
And
Like
then
you've been here
I'm
every single day.
continuing to walk Madeline through, audio things where I need to hear her clearly, and then, all of these conversations break out. So,
Yeah.
Well, I started singing at one point, so that was pretty fun. But then Joey got
Yeah,
in there.
everybody dance now turned into everybody Joe now, which just turned into Joe.
How does he do it?
A lot of
How does he
Joeys.
do it, folks?
So
You're
smart.
right. That is what we do here at Kind of Funny. But on In Review, each and every week, we rank, review, and recap different movie franchises. We've been doing The Shining for spooky season, but next week it's going to get even scarier, everybody. We're going to see another Venom movie. We're seeing Venom The Last
Shit,
Dance.
really?
Oh, yeah. The time is upon us.
Which
Are they
is
going to
crazy.
kill the Venom? Are they going to kill Tom Hardy?
I want to know what
Will he have a
form
dance again?
they kill Venom in. Like, is he going to be in horse form? Or is
Frog form was
Frog,
confirmed.
yeah.
That was a new thing.
I'm so happy I don't have to be on that interview.
Me too.
I'm excited.
I look forward to these.
It's only an hour, 35 minutes.
Oh, that's easy.
You know?
That's easy.
Nick, we're going to have a good time.
Do you think that now? This is a real question I have to ask.
Yeah.
Do you think they just got halfway through shooting the movie and were like, we're good? Or do you think they were just, we're going to edit it down to an hour, 35 minutes? Because I would not be surprised if this movie just ends halfway through. You're like, well, that was it.
Yeah.
We just move on.
Honestly, I'm excited to see this movie. Not for any of the right
Excited.
reasons. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The
Joey,
final
we've-
Venom?
We've crested. We've gone beyond it now. Now there could be Venoms for the rest of our lives, and we'll look forward
Now
to
it's
them. We'll
Fast and
support them.
Furious
Yes.
territory?
No. Fast and Furious has
No.
like a nostalgia and a heart to it. Venom's so stupid and bad and absurd that every time we get a new one, it's just a little treat.
I mean, I'm just excited because based on the trailers we've seen, they're doing some wild shit where I'm just like, how are you even going to try to pretend to piece this together? Or are you just not? Because clearly they've given up. This is a conversation for next week, though. We'll get to talk about Venom. Don't worry. A whole bunch next week. But this week, we're talking about Dr. Sleep. Shout out to our Patreon producers, Drummer Boy, Casey Andrew, James Hastings, Nathan Lamoth, and Carl Jacobs. You are the best of us because of your level of Kinda Funny membership support. You get your names read every episode, but other people just get the shows ad-free. They can watch live as we record them, like Eric DiCarlo's doing right now. And of course, my boy, Cameron Kennedy. We appreciate you all so very, very much for hanging out with us. You also get the Greg Ways every day. Those are fantastic pieces of content, including the 2 that Madeline Stanley did last week that I finally listened to over the weekend, and you did a fantastic job. So thank you very much for all of that, Madeline. Today, we're brought to you by New World Eternum, but I'll tell you all about that later. Let's talk about it. Dr. Sleep, with a runtime of 2 hours and 26 minutes, released on May 23rd. That is not right at all. I did not get the release date for this. I have May 23rd, 1980. That was the Shining.
2019.
I
October
believe it was Halloween.
21st. October 21st, 2019.
There
Or-
we go.
Well, that was one thing. And then it says November 8th, 2019 for wide release.
And
November 8th.
I remember I was in college. It was like I was doing an associate's program, so I was doing 7 classes, and I was doing a part-time job working with you guys and a bunch of other stuff. So I was literally not sleeping. So I would walk out of my dorm room, and I would see this massive billboard for Dr. Sleep, and I was like, "Fuck, I just
Feel
want
taunted
to
right now.
sleep right
Yeah.
now." Jesus Christ.
This is directed by Mike Flanagan, an American filmmaker best known for his horror work. Flanagan wrote, directed, produced, and edited the horror films Absentia, Oculus, Hush, Before I Wake, Ouija, Origin of Evil, Gerald's Game, and Dr. Sleep. He then created, wrote, produced, and served as showrunner on the Netflix horror series The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, The Midnight Club, and The Fall of the House of Usher. Also directing and editing some episodes of each. This was based on Dr. Sleep, a novel by Stephen King that he released in 2013. The music was done by the Newton Brothers, who do a lot of the music for all of the things, the Netflix projects that I just named. But
the Flanagan universe.
Yes. But I know them best and most lovingly as doing the entire score to X-Men 97.
Oh.
And they
That's
brought
cool.
the fucking fire for that shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So shout out to the Newton brothers. This had a budget of $55 million and a box office of $72.4 million. Really did not do too well at the box office. Following its debut, it was projected the film would lose Warner Brothers around $20 million. In its second weekend, the film made only $6 million, dropping to 6th place. Business Insider speculated that, according to box office experts, Warner Brothers overestimated The Shining's influence among younger audiences who don't really care about Stanley Kubrick, as well as the mistake Warner Brothers made to release the film worldwide in November after Halloween.
yeah.
Jesus.
A lot of
Real
interesting
dumb.
choices made there.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't necessarily think about this movie kind of trying to attach itself to the lineage of Stanley Kubrick. I think of it more on the Stephen King side.
Yeah.
So just interesting that was a thought.
Totally. I was reading a interview where they're talking about how with Flanagan it was complicated to make this movie that is a adaptation of Stephen King's book, but really it is a sequel to the Shining movie,
Yeah.
which has differences than the book. So they're like balancing that and keeping both Stephen King happy alongside like respecting kind of the vision of Kubrick. That's what he was saying was kind of difficult to balance, which I found kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And that's like what the cultural cachet is, right? Is Jesus Christ.
Stephen Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick. Jesus fucking Christ. Stephen Stanley, I don't know what's going on. That version of it, like no one, like not no one, but you know, everyone thinks The Shining. They think the movie. They don't think the books. They don't think the original source material. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Madeline Stanley, I want to start with you. What did you think of Dr. Sleep?
I really enjoy Dr. Sleep. I do. It is so interesting because I feel like this is one of those movies that's kind of having like a second life or maybe third life, I guess, because I think when they marketed it initially, it's kind of serving so many different aspects because it's technically kind of doing 3 things, right? Like it's adapting Dr. Sleep, the book. It's kind of serving as a sequel to The Shining, the book, and also a sequel to Shining, the movie. So doing all of those things together is complicated, but I honestly feel like as Mike Flanagan handled it beautifully and kind of tied all of those things together that were very separate and known to be separate and Stephen King not happy about it, but made him happy and sort of the legacy of The Shining of a movie happy. So I was really pleased with how it all came together. When it came out, I wasn't that excited about it either. And the only reason I saw it is because I'm a big Mike Flanagan fan. And so I'm glad I did give it a chance because I think it's a great movie and doing all of those things really well, which is hard to juggle so many different sort of threads.
Nick.
I enjoyed it. This is my second time watching it. I think the first time I watched it was when it came to rental after it came in theaters, and I didn't really know too much about it. So reading up on it, I was like, oh, they made a sequel to The Shining? That's interesting. And again, Shining, never one of my more beloved movies from or even properties from Stephen King, but cool that they decided to continue it. And I think the cast does a phenomenal job. I think it does suffer a little bit from, I'm not going to say it's a Flanagan issue or a King issue, but those two together, I think the movie starts getting a bit long, specifically as we're getting to the Overlook Hotel. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think Stephen King really, really likes fleshing out all of his bad guys. He likes fleshing out the lore of it. But for something like this, and you have a really competent actor like Rebecca Ferguson, the less you see her, the more I think you get out of her. And we spend so much time with the True Knot and with all the villains that you kind of get to know them a little bit, and it humanizes them and it makes them way less scary. And so to me, when we get to the Overlook Hotel, I feel like that whole sequence is very deflated because I don't have a necessary fear of her. I also know that Abra is so OP that it's just going to be easy for her to step in. And so I think that's where the movie starts to falter a little bit for me. But how they get them back to the Overlook, all those sequences, 80% of Ewan McGregor's American accent, all that stuff is really solid. And I think it's obviously cool to build out the world, build out more people who can shine, build out pushers versus people who can make you sleep versus all these other cool powers. And then the fact that really, I think watching it the first time was the first time I had gotten the concept like, oh my gosh, there's a whole other bigger world out there that Stephen King has created that they could play with. And that's always very exciting for me.
Raj.
I was positive on this film, and I think the best thing that I can say, which is a very positive thing, doesn't sound like a positive thing, but
It sounds like you're about to turn the corner to negativity.
it is an okay to pretty good movie. Like, I was like, oh, this is good, but which is kind of wild because this is a sequel to The Shining, which is a beloved, insanely impressive movie. And like, even again, we talked about it last week, but watching that for the first time, I was blown away by how incredible this was. So the fact that this is like pretty good was like, oh, that's solid. I think my major criticisms with this movie is just them trying to deal with that lineage, right? Dealing with the Jesus Christ, the Stanley Kubrick of it all. I don't know why I'm just mixing it up. The Stanley Kubrick of it all and the Stephen King of it all, right? Like, to me, this is very much a Stephen King situation. This movie is going straight into the fantastical. Everyone, all these people that have The Shining are dying and breathing out smoke and vaping out of their mouths. Like, that is so not what I got from the original Shining movie. So them trying to balance it, and it's like, oh no, it's a sequel, but it's also this other thing. It does not feel like it's the same thing. I wish my wildest dreams that this was a 8-hour, mini-series where we're doing The Shining and we're doing Doctor Sleep and we're doing it all together. I know that's kind of sacrilege because people see the original version of The Shining as the GOAT and we can't really touch it, but clearly he was going for something different, and trying to balance that out does not work for me. So all in all, I enjoyed it and I enjoyed a lot of moments of it, but the movie was a little too long in the tooth. By the ending of it, I was like, man, I really want this to end. And I did not like the ending of this movie at all. I did not like the Marvel aspect of it where it's like, we got all of these monsters, we got to take them out of the head. It just felt like it's not what I was looking for out of this. I was looking for more of a psychological thriller, which is what I got from the original Shining. And this was more of like a mystical, hey, let's get all these monsters and boogeyman, take them out of the boxes. So yeah, pretty good, but it didn't blow me away.
Joy.
I came into this movie because I saw it in theaters with Kevin back when this released, and like really didn't know anything about it other than this is a follow-up to The Shining, which kind of similarly to Nick is not on my like Mount Rushmore of horror movies. It is one that like I know that a lot of people love and revere, but it's just not that for me. So I walked in with like kind of no expectations. It wasn't one that I followed like through production or anything like that. And I was like so pleasantly surprised, and even on rewatch, of how much I liked it, considering how much I kind of appreciate but don't love the Shining. Ewan McGregor was such an interesting casting choice, not who I would have imagined.
So interesting.
Yeah.
You have an issue with his accent, and I want to know about this.
I don't think he does a very good American accent when he does it, and I think it ends up he ends up affecting 2 to 3 different types of accents when he's talking. Some a little bit more. I just don't love it. Also, at one point, Rebecca Ferguson had an Irish accent at the beginning of the movie, and then that's just gone toward the end of the movie.
Are the
You're bringing
powers.
back one of the less beloved podcasts within a podcast, accent or accent.
Wow. Should we do it now? Roger, hit the song.
Accent.
Or accent. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Accent or Accent.
Yeah.
Podcast and a podcast. We're going to talk about the accents in this movie. It's just one of those things, ladies and gentlemen, where we talk about this a lot. We talk about one of the worst offenders, right? Doctor Strange. Right?
Okay.
We talk about the Benedict Cumberbatch.
Come to bargain, yeah.
Dormammu.
Yep.
I've come to bargain.
I'm an
Everything's
American
over.
man.
I am an American. And that's what it is. It always gets
not.
when it's when no, but for me with Ewan McGregor, he dips into that. I am going to be there. Like, you know, it's the voice goes higher and he gets dorkier, sort of.
I don't really feel like that at all. But
It's just a weird thing to me where I just would rather him have a British accent. Even though it would make no sense for a person that
Danny,
grew
this
up,
American
Danny
child
who grew up
now.
in Florida, just give him the British accent, man.
Accent.
So I say this is a accent.
Yeah.
Oh, it did
I didn't notice a single time.
me either.
Me neither.
Yeah, I feel like normally that'll be a thing that'll bring me out, but I think I was just so engrossed in the story. I also usually through like a lot of the Marvel properties definitely favor the more grounded stories and not super into the magic stuff, but I really liked it. And maybe that's just because I am more familiar with Stephen King and like mildly interested in the bigger world that he builds through his stories. I really, really, really liked that they did not that they casted new people to do the
Yes.
older roles and
Yes,
then they
me
didn't
too.
do
Incredible.
any like
Oh,
CGI stuff. I think
can
that
we
was
talk
an
about that for a
incredible
second?
choice. And I think that they did a really good job. I think the person that replaces, what's her name? I
Shelley
forget.
Duvall.
Yeah, I think does like a really impressive job recreating some really iconic scenes. I think that the Jack Nicholson replacement is like less
Do you know who
great,
that is,
but
though?
no, I don't.
It's Henry Thomas.
I
He's in all of Mike Flanagan stuff. He plays the kid with
Oh.
the guy with the ponytail in House of Usher. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I was like,
He's
that
the
guy's
dad in Hill House.
yeah. I was like, that guy's
Interesting.
really good. I'm like, that guy's really, really good. I wonder if he's done anything else. And of course, he's been in every Mike
Everything,
Flanagan
yeah.
thing. I thought he did a good enough job to the point where I was like, this is not taking me out of this.
And I think that you can tell that Mike Flanagan knows it's like, ooh, that's a tough one to try and
Yeah.
recreate. But I think because you don't see him face on super often, I feel like they do a good job of showing him profile. And I do think that he nails the voice.
And just the mannerisms
Yeah.
and all that, which is like what matters for
Exactly.
the shining character.
Yeah. So I really like it. This movie, I had way more visceral reactions to some of like the more horror aspects of this movie than I remember having in theaters and being like, oh, this is where it feels very Mike Flanagan to me, where I'm like, you are not holding back. And like, especially the Jacob Tremblay scene with
Yeah,
everybody, I was like,
Crazy.
I am uncomfortable. And like, I was watching this at home and my roommate Katie was on the other couch. We had just finished Love is Blind and she was just like on her phone laying there. And I was like,
They're out here
That's a good
killing kids.
appetizer.
I know. And I was like, she's going to think that I'm watching something crazy because she's like not super into movies and stuff like that. But she was like, clearly unfazed by it. And I was like, I am
concerning.
standing here like really stressed out. And she's just like, nah. But yeah, it is really long. By the time we actually get to the Overlook Hotel, I had like forgotten kind of. I had gotten so wrapped up in the story that I had forgotten that we end up there. And I was like, oh, we've still got like some time left in this movie. So I do think that that's the only thing that it makes it not like a stellar movie for me. But other than that, I really like it. And I feel like me being as engaged in the rewatch as I was for something I've already seen is usually like a telltale sign for me that it's something that I really like. I'm nervous about what Tim says based
I'm
on last
interested.
week.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because you
I
were
was
like
thinking
not
the same thing.
Madeline and I had talked about this because you were like not really into the like the magical side of things.
Yeah. So it's funny. First off, did not expect him to straight up murk a kid. That was
Yeah.
wild. Like
I was
really
waiting for the
wild.
moment. I was like, oh, someone's gonna save
Someone's
him.
gonna save
yeah,
it.
exactly.
No, and I was like, that's fucked up. And then the scene of them like kind of in the forest, the very small
with the
forest,
grandpa?
and they're just fucking almost point blank shooting human
Oh, that.
beings, just like one after another after another. I was like, this is so intense that I'm kind of shocked they even got away with like showing, because we just don't see imagery like that. Like it was very unnerving, I would
Yeah.
say. But man, I think y'all are on the complete other side of where I am because I loved this fucking
Whoa!
movie.
Yes, Tim.
I
This is
loved
so
it.
exciting.
I loved it. I loved it. I do not think that it is that great of a movie. Like, I think there's a lot to criticize, and I can see where some problems are, but every problem I had last week with The Shining of the supernatural stuff that I still completely stand by. I feel like that movie could have been better. That story could have been better and was so great already. And like, I to be clear, I loved The Shining. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I just think that the supernatural stuff, specifically like how they played the end things of like, oh, it's cyclical and all this stuff, and he's in the picture. I just didn't like that. I feel like it could have been stronger without it. This movie tripling down on, no, that is what this is, and let's actually flesh out the world and make it all fucking mystical, magical bullshit. They did that so well. Yeah. And yes, it is very, very long. 2.5 hours is insane. I'm happy though, because I feel it gave them the opportunity to do all the cool things of setting up a cool world I actually care about, but then also doing we got to go back to where it started and like actually make that stuff pay off in a way that, like, yes, it's gimmicky, but they made the gimmick work. I feel like they very intentionally didn't do the Stanley Kubrick like visual stylings for the majority of this movie until the end when they get back there and then they start doing the shots a lot more dead on. I'm like, that's really cool. But I also love that Flanagan had so much visual style to what he was doing that the Rebecca Ferguson like traveling through space and time, like just the visuals of all that, like with the earth and all that, I was like, this is fucking awesome. That shot of her getting into the house and the camera kind of flipping as she flew in, like I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like Flanagan knew what he was doing, knew what he had to hit, and I think he hit it all very well. I also think about the amount of times we've talked about superhero movies and just been like, I wish they would take this just a little more seriously, or I wish the ramifications of these people having these type of powers would have more impact on the world. And I feel like this is what this movie is. This is a really dark X-Men. This is just the New Mutants, but better. And I really appreciate them having so many different powers, the pushing, the pulling. Like one of them straight up has Code Geass, like you have to do whatever I tell you powers. And they do it in like introducing your character as taking down the pedophile guy. I'm like, this is good stuff. And yeah, having a whole team of bad guys that all have ridiculous code names like fucking Sniper Wolf and Psycho Mantis and shit. I'm just like, y'all, this is it. Like if you're gonna set up The Shining to have this weird stuff, this movie I think took that and ran with it. And so even though that's the stuff I liked least about The Shining, I think they made it all worth it here. Yeah. This made me enjoy The Shining even more than I did.
That's wild. Yeah, because I'm on
not expect this.
I'm on the opposite side where it's like I thought I wanted this and I didn't want this. Right? Like I wanted. I think now I understand why Kubrick ended up making his movie the way he ended up making it. It was for people like me, like who was like, "Oh, I want the smattering and the idea of there's something going on here, and maybe you want to know more." But when we actually got into it and we had vapor out the mouths, I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of checked out. And I think that's the issue here is that it's like, it's the connection, it's the sequel to The Shining, and I like The Shining for its very specific nature, and then that this is not that, so it was hard for me to reconcile that. So
I wonder if you would have liked this just standalone.
I probably would have, right? Yeah. If I watched this one first, which is actually impossible, honestly. Like, the more I thought about it, I was like, there's so many, like, I feel like you have to watch The Shining and then watch this almost directly afterwards.
I don't know, man.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like I would have liked The Shining a lot more if I watched this one first.
Interesting. Yeah, no,
to give it context.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just want to see Mike Flanagan's take on The Shining. Like that's kind of the entire time I was watching this, I was just like, I think that would have made this kind of perfect for me.
We're going to get into the plot and everything else. This episode is brought to you by New World Aeternum. New World Aeternum is a thrilling action RPG experience for console and PC players with a vibrant world, vast and beautiful setting, dynamic real-time action combat, and the freedom for players to choose how to forge their destiny. Combat is skill-based and dynamic, incorporating swords, guns, and sorcery so that you can build one character to rule them all as you explore Aeternum and unravel the mysteries of the supernatural island that you can't leave. You love playing RPGs alone? You can in New World Aeternum, or play cooperatively with your friends as you complete quests, get better gear, and level up. Greg played this at Summer Game Fest on PlayStation 5 and was caught off guard by how much he enjoyed it and how many hours he said he could see himself sinking into the final product. There's boss fights, cool enemies, crossplay, resource gathering, and crafting. So yeah, this sounds like a Greg game. New World Aeternum is available now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Right after a word from our sponsors. Nick, hit me.
Roger asked me the question.
Oh shit! Fuck, my computer locked. Fuck, I have to go back. You're not waiting with me?
I can't. I have to wake it up. Ladies and gentlemen, 2019 Dr. Sleep.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. We're starting where all good stories start. Florida, 1980. Violet encounters Rebecca Ferguson, whose name is Rose the Hat. Why?
Do
Because she
you
got an
know-
unfortunate hat on.
I love the hat.
Fortunate.
Do you know who the little girl is at the beginning?
No.
Does she look familiar to any of you?
I don't think
Oh,
so.
shoot. I just saw her name pop up and I totally blanked.
She is the little girl from Megan.
Oh, shit.
shit.
I was like, why do I know this little girl?
Before the robot.
Yeah.
Violet,
So
of
in Hell
course.
House.
Oh, she's not the robot.
No, she's not the. She's not Megan.
maybe
She's the
there's a
little
little
girl
girl
who
inside
gets
the
Megan.
outfit. I don't
I
know
need
what
you to
that-
watch these movies a little closer. Okay?
I don't know.
Pay a
I
little
don't
more
know.
attention. Violet, of course, is like, hey, you got a funny hat on. She's like, yeah, my hat's got all sorts of flowers in it. I bet you can guess what color this flower is. And she's like, well, I'm guessing purple because the other one was purple. And then the girl's like, yeah, you got the shining. I'm going to eat your fucking steam. And then slowly but surely, all of her weird friends show up behind her. And she's like, I should go home now. And they're like, nah, we got to eat your steam.
We
and
need
so
the steam.
they
I
eat her
love
steam.
the tension that they build in this, where you hear something, you see one person and how they add everybody, and how nice and like welcoming. You can see how Rebecca Ferguson gets all these people, especially kids.
She'd get
obviously.
me, man. Like immediately, I'd be
Right
fucked,
now,
dude.
like
She'd
an adult
suck my
Tim.
steam so fast.
Tim, let's be honest. Even if you knew that this was going to happen to you, even if you know, and you see Rebecca Ferguson over there,
Let's
we're
see
going
that
to say
hat,
hi.
man.
Yeah.
Dude, I love the hat. I love her outfit. I love everything she has going on.
Like her
this,
little traveling caravan
come on, dude.
style.
Good for her.
Well, so apparently the outfits are all sort of a combination of multiple eras because they've been alive for so long. So the hat is based on something she got in like the 20s or turn of the century, stuff like that. And then at one point she's in leggings, and I was like, okay, well, was that like, would she stop off at Lululemon before she went to kill the dad? I
I'm watching
digress.
Agatha all along right now, and all I could think
Sorry.
watching this movie is I was just like, I wish Rebecca Ferguson would join their little coven, man. She'd fit
As-
right in
As this character, just in general.
as this character. Put her, Aubrey Plaza, and
Patty
Catherine
LaPone.
Hahn together. It's gonna be a good time.
When he said that he's watching
Start some
Agatha
shit.
all along, did you say I'm sorry?
Yeah, I haven't started watching yet. I don't know if it's good or bad.
I love you. That's awesome.
But it's no Penguin. I'll just say I haven't seen one frame of this show, and I can tell you it's no Penguin.
It's no penguin. That's true.
No penguin.
We cut over to Danny, and he's ripping it through the Overlook Hotel again. And shout out to Mike Flanagan for recreating these. I'm sure that was half the budget to recreate the Overlook for 5 seconds that they're inside of it. Of course, Danny sees old room 237, and it opens up, and there's darkness. And then we see it first, Tim. What do we see first?
The naked lady?
Yeah, the naked
Yeah.
lady. And she's like, hi, I'm all naked.
That was cool. It was cool to see that. It was cool to see it from his. We didn't see that in the original movie, right?
No.
His perspective. That was really sick.
Danny wakes up and, of course, goes over to his bathtub and it's got a monster in it. He pees himself. Been there. Mom interrupts with a hug. Presumably gets pee all over her robe.
That's the first thing I was thinking about.
You have to think like, oh gosh, so much
Yeah.
pee. It's just
Pee
so much
everywhere.
urine.
But at
It's
this
just
point, you've
constantly peeing.
raised, I don't know, a 6 or an 8-year-old child. You are unfazed by
Yeah.
being peed on.
But this
Yeah,
kid's
you're used to it.
at the age, unfortunately, obviously he's been traumatized by his dad attacking him with an axe. He saw the dead people. He saw a lot of naked old women, probably before he should have. So now he's like fetishized naked old women or whatever it's going to be. But it's a bummer because, I stopped peeing my pants around 5, probably somewhere around there. So
This kid
you
is
think this
5.
kid? No, he's like 10. This kid's like a 10-year-old.
Didn't they say he's 5?
like 5 or 6.
I stopped peeing my pants around 2. Anyway, I digress. Danny, of course, has been traumatized. He hasn't said a word since the Overlook Hotel. And then finally, the ghost of Halloran appears. Shout out to, again, the casting of all these people. If they did this now and with a lesser director, of course, they would do that god-awful facial deep fake stuff that they do now, which just has to stop. Even though it's way better than it used to be, just cast another actor. I've often said this. There's so many actors that are great in Hollywood that are out of work. Just give them a couple lines, pay them, and let them be your Halloran, for Christ's sake. It's always going to be way better than the facial stuff.
Yeah, and it does not cause as much controversy or people getting taken out of the movie, right? Like, I mean, fucking Alien Romulus. I just keep on thinking.
What the
about
hell?
it. Just
What
keep on
the?
thinking
Just
about
cast
it.
the guy that looked like him. That's all you
What
got to
if
do.
No one,
accent's
literally,
bad?
no one would have said anything. What?
I said, but what if their accent's bad?
That's true. That's true.
I'm Ash from the Nostromo. I'm trying to do an American accent, but for some reason, it goes so high. My voice.
Would you rather have a CGI?
Remember when he was like this? We were brothers, Anakin. Brothers.
Yeah.
I prefer that.
Yeah, he should have just done
Barrett,
that.
was
He should have just been Obi.
Just sorry, Barrett. Oh, because you were loud.
No, honestly, it was a good recreation. It brought me back to that scene, Nick. It was a very good job.
Thank
Would
you.
you rather have a CGI person or them recast with a regular actor with a bad accent?
Bad accent actor.
You
And
would suffer
here's,
through.
here's why, because ultimately it's not the actor, it's the other actors in the scene. And the other actors in the scene, no matter how good they are, can never, like acting, of course, Joey, Barrett will tell you this because he is my fellow thespian actor. Acting, Tim, is reacting.
Of course.
Of course. And so when you have something to react with, the guy's got dots all over his head and it's not the right actor, it's never going to be as good as when you just have a good actor like Ewan McGregor, and I'll give him shift the accent, but he's a phenomenal actor, just acting opposite of Henry Thomas and let them do the scene. That scene is so much better than it has any right to be because he just cast two good actors, shot the shit out of it with just very static shots, and it's good. It's good.
Good.
As opposed to this.
great.
What have we given them? Hope. Remember that one?
Yeah.
I'm like, why is the mouth moving all over her face? At one point, the mouth, Princess Leia's mouth was on her fucking forehead. I was like, we couldn't just pull that back down? We had all those tracking marks. Just hire someone that looks like a young Carrie Fisher.
I want to watch the versions
Let
of the movie that
someone-
Nick watches because me too.
It's just like, dude, it's just one of those things where, like, look, I think one of the women that was in this, maybe not the Shelley Duvall character, but I think the mom that plays Abra's mom, I think she went on to do other Mike Flanagan stuff. I'm like, cool. Give someone an opportunity to be in your fucking project and have a cool scene, and then you can cast some other cool shit. You know what you can't cast? That weird lip that's on Carrie Fisher's the body, fucking the forehead. What are you gonna do with that thing?
There's
Why
a lot
is
of
the
Mike
face
Flanagan
moving independently
regulars
from the
in
lips?
here.
Anyway.
This whole cast is Mike Flanagan regulars, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that he does that, by the way. Anyway, Halloran's like, hey, buddy, let me show you this cool box. And I thought of Roger. Because Roger's working with wood these days.
Oh.
Roger
I'm
offered
making a
to fit.
box.
Yeah.
We broke a table earlier. Not we, I say we, Roger broke it. And then
Whoa.
You looked at the table for the first time in 2 years and you're like, oh shit, it was broken.
just because you were carrying it, I was like, Roger clearly smashed that against Greg's face like a WWE thing to do. Anyway, Roger's been working with wood. He goes, hey, we got this cool box. I'm going to teach you how to make these cool boxes.
Yeah.
And you're going to go and you're going to put all these ghosts that are from the Overlook that are haunting you in these boxes. I think they're called mind traps or something cool like that. And that's fucking cool.
Fucking cool.
Come on, that's fucking cool. And where
Oh,
does he
yeah.
put them? He puts them in big boxes in the hedge maze.
Yeah.
Which is sick, right?
Sick.
And so we get this fucking awesome shot, which again is mirrored. It's foreshadowing and then mirrored at the end of the story, where he looks and he sees the old lady in full regale and all the, and he's like, okay, we'll lock this away in the mental
In
wall for
full
later.
what, Nick?
Regale?
Okay.
What did I say?
Oh no,
No,
I
you
was just
said
gonna
it.
see if you were gonna expand on that.
No, I was like, I'm waiting for someone
on
else
the
to say the
bush.
word. Yeah, that's what it is. Thank you. I can't say it first.
I know. I had to do. That's your present today,
Yeah,
Nick.
yeah.
Thank you, Sam. Because what I wanted you to say when the door opened and when it was all dark was a bush popped out first.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's not.
The
what I
first
was
thing you
thinking,
saw
but
was just a little gray bush.
You're not wrong.
And eye level for him too because he was on the trike, the big wheel.
Yeah,
Oh, this is gonna be one of those episodes. I'm so excited.
it is.
Anyway, awesome shot where he sees her. She starts getting out of the tub. He walks in, turns toward the camera, and just shuts the door.
I
and
love
you're like,
that.
oh, that's him taking his life back. What? And then boom, we cut to him just being a drunken shitbag.
Yeah.
And man, it's years later, and he gets his ass beat, and then he wakes up next to a naked lady who's thrown up all over herself. And then he
Disgusting,
sees the
dude.
kid, and Halloran's like, Doc, you can't take her money. At least give her money back. And he's like, fine. He puts the money back and then just locks the kid in the room with his dead mom, clearly dead. And then we'll just skip ahead. Yeah, she died and the kid died. And they got flies
So
all over
fucked
him.
up, man.
It's messed up.
Really
Yeah, it's
fucked
up. I also, at one point, his mom's like, how you doing? He's like, I'm good. Because he's good now. Anyway, Jersey.
I will say-
I wrote that note because he was watching Bugs Bunny, which is where the word Doc comes from. That was his favorite cartoon.
Oh,
So that's why they
got
called
it.
him Doc.
The Warner Brothers connection.
Yeah,
I
WB, of
love the
course.
line when they're on the bench in the park, which I think we've already talked about. Yes, that's when he learns how to. No.
No, not yet.
Okay, keep going.
We're going to keep going. Long Island, New York. We meet Andy, spelled with an I, which is always weird. And she's meeting her newest John, who was really into girls. Now, here's what I'll say. The actor that plays Andy's great. She is a solid 30 years old. And she's supposed to be 15. It's weird.
The little blonde one.
Yeah, she's supposed to be 15. It's
Oh yeah.
she's
Yeah, it was
at
a little- it was a
minimum
little
25 years old, this actor.
Yeah.
Doesn't read as 15 at all.
yeah. I'll
Little
back
odd,
you up on that one.
Which was weird because she's like, you like little girls, don't you? And I was like, but you're fucking, you're in your doctorate program. What are we doing here? Like, granted, yeah, it's weird. The guy's skeezy as shit, but like, they should have aged that down a little bit. And I think it would have been way scarier to have this pusher be like a child.
Yeah. That is a good point.
Anyway, she's like, you're going to go to sleep. She steals his wallet, puts little snake bites on his face, and she's like, "You're gonna never. Every time you see these snake bites, you're gonna say out loud, 'I like little girls,' and then you're gonna never touch a little girl ever again." And you're like, "Oh,
Crazy.
this character's a good person." Clearly,
So
toward the
cool,
end, she's
man.
gonna help out all the. And then they're like, and then Rose and the Crow are like, "Yeah, I told you." And this is
Don't
the
call him the Crow.
Crow?
Call him by his name.
Crow,
Crow Daddy.
Crow Daddy.
Go daddy.
Bro
you.
daddy.
Crow Daddy. Now, again, I'll say this, and I won't lament too long on this criticism because the actor that plays Crow Daddy and Rose, he's in a new series too. I think I got queued up on Amazon where he plays the sheriff. Great actors. Rebecca Ferguson. This is my first real time seeing her in like a leading role outside of the Mission Impossible, and I was like, she's fucking awesome, right?
Yeah.
Clearly awesome. I
Yeah.
didn't watch the show she was in. I think my wife watched it, but she was in
Silo.
Silo, yes.
Silo.
Anyway, they're great, but the longer we spend with them, the more I'm like, I'm learning too much about them, and they start to become too real to me, and then they're not ominous anymore. Now they're just characters in the story. And so I kind of want to liken this to, like, it's going to sound weird, but like the book Salem's Lot, where the bad guy was always just this thing right out of sight. This
The Jaws
looming,
thing.
yeah, it's this terrifying looming thing that really has more to do with your own fears than and what that means than the actual monster itself. I guess kind of a one-note monster, which is the opposite of what I really want. What I always thought, oh, the best protagonist has to be three-dimensional. But in this, I would have liked them to be a little bit more one-note and not so likable. Because Rose the Hat is just likable. You're like, oh, I hang out with them.
I don't know. I loved it because I love that they're bad guys with a clear mission. Like, and when you look at this as an X-Men movie, it's like I think it works a lot.
I guess
where
that's fair.
We're like them having these needs. It's not even just like wants. Like they need to kill people with these powers, find them and kill them, or else they're going to die. And the extents to which they'll do that are killing kids like as brutally as they do. To me, that's cool. And them recruiting other members and stuff, like everything about that, I think that the more we saw them, it helped. Whereas like there was enough going with them, and like I think that they were compelling enough as a story beat for this movie that I was like, I'm happy we had it. Because if we had less, I feel like it'd be like, oh, they're just super generic bad guys. But in this, I'm like, oh, they're bad guys with a cause.
I think
Sick hat.
I also think too, getting to see them like in the group scenes with the little kid, and then when the grandpa guy whose
Yeah.
cool name I don't remember
Grandpa.
dies.
I think it was like Grandpa Fisher or
Flick,
something.
I think.
Flick.
Thank
Grandpa
you.
Flick.
I think both of those scenes show their commitment and brutality in different ways of like, oh, you're willing to kill kids, but then you are also like taking advantage of like your own people in order to survive and like
Oh,
I don't know.
when they suck his steam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like how awful death is for them, right? Like it's not just, oh, like we see a lot of death in this movie of human beings, and it's like, okay, they kind of go away. These guys are like, they're going through it. They're going through the worst hell you could possibly imagine. So it's like them trying to escape that.
And also, to me, I think the reason that I enjoyed them so much, and something I really appreciate about this movie, is how it deals with death and the amount of scenes of people literally with someone else, with another human being as they're dying. And we see it both on the bad guy side, but then also on Ewan McGregor's side of like with the cat.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh.
mean? Like shout out to the cat, maybe the MVP
The
character.
cutest cat ever. That's like
So sick.
extremely fluffy cat.
They actually had two cats.
Oh.
They cast a young cat for the first scenes, and that's 8 years later, so they cast an older cat.
Aw.
That's why it's
Hell
fluffier.
yeah.
They're both cute.
I like
love
that.
that.
They
And
both
Mike
are.
Flanagan and no one else liked working with these cats because apparently the cat would not sit still.
Oh.
Dang.
I think he called him like
Someone else is dying.
the cat's name was Ozzy, and I think the crew affectionately referred to it as Asshole the Cat or something like that. 'cause he just
Asshole
wouldn't
the cat.
pass you or something like that.
Oh, sorry. I just had a question for Madeline because she's the only one that
Yeah.
watched the director's cut.
Oh Jesus!
So
Yeah.
24 more minutes, huh?
I don't know how
Yeah.
that gets spliced
Interrupt
in.
when things get changed. I feel like that's important.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting, Roger, you brought up like a mini series before, because I don't feel like there's like so many really huge changes, but the director's cut does make the movie about 3 hours long, which is so interesting because we're already kind of talking about some of the complaints that a lot of people have is that this movie is already 2.5 hours long, adding another 30 minutes. I think it does end up feeling a little bit more like a mini series with the director's cut because he adds like chapter markers. So there's like
Oh, wow.
chapters 1 through 6. You kind of get these separations of different themes throughout the chapters. And then I feel like there's just a lot more context for every scene, which maybe if you don't want that, it might not be as. I think if you're already not a fan of the movie itself, or maybe you're like leaning more negative, you probably wouldn't get a lot out of the director's cut. But if you really like some of the world building that Stephen King does. I think you get a lot more context for individual scenes. Like there's extended the conversation with Jack in the bar that gets like a big extension, which I think is really positive because that's a really good scene with Danny and Jack talking. You get a little bit more Dick Hallorann in it. But a lot of it is small little pieces where you're just getting a little bit more context for characters and kind of the world of Stephen King.
As we return to the plot, Andy leaves the theater, and Crow Daddy says, "Hey, we got you stopped." She goes, "You're gonna go away. You leave me alone." And he, of course, has to leave her alone. But then she tries to use that shit on Rose, and Rose is like, "That's not gonna work on me." You know why, Tim?
There's levels to this shit.
Because I got the hat,
She got the hat,
which I imagine,
Cerebro type
Yeah.
stuff.
you know, is like Magneto's hat, supposedly, or whatever. Maybe not. I don't know.
I was waiting for the hat to come into play. Like
The hat.
I was waiting for like she'd take off the
I thought
hat.
that was like her Horcrux. It's like you kill the hat and
Yep.
it kills her.
That's exactly what I was
But
thinking.
no,
or-
instead it's just left over, and someone's like, "I'm not gonna wear that ugly hat."
Just a fashion choice.
That's a bad choice. Long Island. Okay, anyway, they recruit her. They're like, "You're gonna be a part of our," and you come with us. It's gonna be cool. New Hampshire.
Don't
Abra
they just
Stone.
kidnap her? I don't.
no.
No, I think they just kind of like
Yeah, do you want to live
convince her to
forever?
come and like live
Oh.
forever. But also they do die. You were saying they were humans. They're not humans. I think they die, and then they're brought back as like they're kind of undead. Because at one point she's like, "It was not supposed to hurt." She goes, "Yeah, well, I lied to you or whatever." And I think they're like, I don't think they're human anymore. I think they're like some sort of other ghoulish.
Sorry,
thing.
I mean they look like humans getting shot.
Oh yeah.
Point blank, it's human beings getting shot. They're not
But
moving
they are
like fucking
They
like
are for all intents and
zombies or
purposes. I
anything.
forget how they refer to them in one piece of trivia or how the book refers to them, but they're akin to vampires. They're like soul sucking vampires,
Yeah.
basically. Except they can walk. They can walk during the day, just like Blade. Abra Stone is a cute little girl at her birthday party, and she sees this magician. He's like, "I can make spoons." She's like, "I can do that with the spoons." And the guy's like, "Yeah, cute." And then her parents are like, "Fuck," and they walk back into the kitchen, and all the forks are everywhere, and the spoons are just stuck to the ceiling.
Dope
And she's
scene,
like, "See?"
man. Like this was cool. It's like, oh, this is kind of it's getting a little spooky. Like I'm feeling the vibes. I do think it's a little bit weird that her name's Abra. And that
I hate it.
I mean, I
Me
love
too.
it. I love it as a name. I just feel like they made some weird call. I feel like if you're gonna have a kid named Abra and there's a magician and she wants to show the magician some magic, you let your little fucking girl named Abra show some goddamn magic. You know, it
For
just
her
felt
birthday.
like they were like pretending that wasn't the most obvious thing. Like
That's like
a little
naming
weird.
your kid race car, and then when the races are on, you're like, "You don't need to watch that."
Stop talking. The
Well,
real
clearly
race
you like
car drivers
magic.
here.
You didn't get abracadabra. Fucking weird name. Anyway, supposedly Stephen King was like, "Oh, I didn't even put that together." I'm like, "What?"
Like
What?
that's clear. That's clear
How?
from the story they tell.
She, of course, drops all the spoons, and that just echoes through the galaxy, just like that one time they blew up Alderaan and Obi-Wan Kenobi felt it on.
Why did they have so many spoons?
It was
a party.
Insane amount of spoons.
You know, Tim,
that many metal spoons.
look,
They're rich.
I'll be real.
That first things first. I'm hitting the lotto. Fucking hella spoons.
Spoonapalooza.
Spoon City.
Spoonapalooza.
You open a room, and it's just a pit of spoons.
One butter knife.
Honestly,
We share.
that's what my drawer at home looks like. Because I will eat. I'm a spoon girl. I would much rather eat something with a spoon than a fork. And we do have like triple the amount of spoons than any other utensils at our house. but
Recently, I
not
started
that
using
much.
small forks.
I love the small fork.
Small forks.
I don't know why. Danielle's always used small forks, and I was like, "I'll use a small fork." I never used a small fork in my life. Use a small fork. This is nice.
Well,
It makes
before,
Small
what was
utensils
your
are
go-to?
better.
a big fork, but the
I've
small fork makes everything go
I'm
a
with
little
Madeline.
slower. Nice.
I've been noticing that the forks in our office smell like soap sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just-
everything in our office smells like something.
Because I would eat my food and I thought it was my food that was smelling like soap, and I'd be like, no, I think it's the fork that I'm eating off of. So
it's
just
the
the
detergent.
detergent. It
Yeah.
gets hella.
Every time I pick up my favorite mug, which is a Ravenclaw mug, and I go to sip it, it tastes a little like salty soap. The first couple, and then eventually your tongue
it makes
gets
it,
numb.
it makes us stronger. It makes
Yeah.
us stronger
Oh, yeah,
as a
it does.
company.
Well,
I
soap's-
guess
soap's
better
good
that
for you.
it's soapy than like leaving food residue on stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the plot. Rose gives Andy the nickname Snakebite Andy, which is cool. Tim, what would your nickname be if you were in this cool gang? Hair gel Tim. There it is.
No, it's
You're
bomber
not,
jacket
you're not fast
Tim, for
enough on
sure.
on the uptake. Anyway, we go to Fraser, New Hampshire, and we put and Danny's like, shit, I gotta change my life. So he gets off the train, the bus, and there's this cool little shopping center for ants, just like Zoolander said, right? Where it's like this little miniature
town.
set. And it's cool, but it's also creepy as shit, right?
Oh hell yeah! The way that they first frame it, where the camera goes down, and you just see like the little versions of the buildings surrounding.
Yeah.
I'm like, Flanagan's trying his best. I appreciate it.
It's wild. Of course, he meets Billy, played by Cliff Curtis, who is fucking awesome in everything.
Shout
the
out
best.
to
So good.
Billy, dude.
He might be the best. He might be the best actor in this.
In
damn
my
thing.
notes, I have fuck yeah. I forgot Cliff Curtis was in this.
Cliff Curtis.
A top tier quote. That guy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. After he was, I mean, he's popped up in so many different things. I'm ashamed to say it, but I don't think his name really sunk in until he did that Walking Dead spinoff. I think he did Fear the Walking Dead, and I was
He
like,
did.
oh, it's that guy.
Yeah, the dad.
And I'm like, okay, Cliff Curtis.
I just learned
So-
he was in Avatar too. That's fire. That's awesome.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
it's hard to
plays
tell.
one
in
of the blue
Avatar.
guys.
Anyway, Billy sees Danny and recognizes that Danny is a recovering addict. He sees that because he also is a recovering addict. So he gets him a spot up in this cool bed and breakfast. Of course, I just watched Salem's Lot on HBO. It's a fairly decent adaptation of it.
I
Albeit
got a
little
commercial
short.
for that before I watched this.
Yeah, I think it was one of those movies that I think was supposed to come out in theaters, and they were like, oh, well, it got caught up in the whole WB bullshit, and I think they just ended up putting it straight to Max. Honestly, rightfully so, it should be on Max. But anyway, there's scenes in that where Billy has to get a little a bed and breakfast, and the woman that runs that is a little curmudgeon-y also. And so I'm like, oh, this is giving me mad Salem's Lot vibes. Of course, she's like, hey, it's really weird. The guy that was lived up here before was a math teacher, and so he made me paint this wall in chalkboard. So here you go. And I was like, oh, I'm sure that's not going to come in handy at all in this
Can you
movie
do
at all.
that? Can you just paint a wall chalkboard?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Let me into your house.
You can do. They have whiteboard paint too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But that one's hard because it's the texture.
Yeah.
If you
That's
paint
pretty
your
sick.
ceilings, you can do math at night.
Oh, I like that. Or I
While you
can
lay in
draw.
bed.
I can draw things.
Yeah.
You can write
just
murder as many times as you want.
Red rum.
Red
Give it red
Ooh, a spider rub.
Let's
Spider web.
practice this one more time.
All right,
I want 2 distinct pumps. Red, rum.
Okay.
Okay? Because you're doing this.
Red.
You're doing that. You're doing the. It got dubbed over and it's not matching the
Yeah,
lips. I want you to match my lips. Red, rum. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Red rum.
Your timing was off. Your timing was off.
I didn't expect that. I should have, but I didn't. Man, this whole movie, I was waiting for him to bust out the voice.
I was waiting for Tony.
Tony. He calls me. He asked me.
He called
Tony,
for
help me.
Tony, yeah.
He
Remember?
fucking called. They say something about Tony pretty early in the movie, and I had a one was like, "Who the fuck is Tony?" And then I was like, "Oh shit, it's the voice!"
Totally
and
forgot
then
about
later,
that.
he calls Tony, and I wanted him to straight up just bust it out. Ewan McGregor just fucking with his accent. I don't give a fuck.
I was so expecting the ending of this movie was going to be like the
Tony.
Avengers moment, like fucking
Tony
I'm Tony
comes
now.
through.
I'm
Yeah,
Tony.
He should have.
Tim, who do you think did it better? Let me close your eyes.
Yeah.
Let's go for a walk. I know this is gonna be a long podcast.
Is
but
this
whatever.
all of us or just a walk for Tim?
Everyone, close your eyes. The other night, I'm watching YouTube TV, and on Paramount
This is a
Channel,
weird way to
on
start.
the Paramount Channel, I it's like 10 minutes into Top Gun Maverick. So I think to myself, you know what? I got Paramount Plus. I'm gonna watch this movie from the start. See how long I get. Watch the whole gosh darn thing.
Of course you did.
Fucked around, found out.
Yeah.
Got caught up in 187. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's a moment in that where Maverick's in the cockpit for the first time, and he says to himself, "Talk to me, Goose." Who did it better, him or that part at the end of this where he's like, "I'm Tony. Give me some help, Tony." Who did it better?
I mean, if Tony's voice came out, I might have given it to Ewan,
That
but it
could've been
didn't.
hot.
It didn't.
It
So
could've
yeah,
been
no, of
hot
course
fire.
it's going to my boy Mav.
Fantastic.
Also,
Anyway,
Roger, I appreciate that you had your eyes closed for
I
the
thought
whole
we were all
thing.
doing it. I was excited.
Mine were closed for a
I was
while.
excited.
Then eventually,
but then
I
he
was
started talking about Paramount Plus, and
Yeah.
I was like, "That's when I should have opened my eyes." But I was waiting for something. I trusted Nick. I should have trusted Nick.
why? Andy gets jumped into the gang, and man, it sure looks painful. But Rose she's like, "Look, man, you got to have a little bit of Violet's shine." I guess I guess it's the shine. It's they call it the steam, but it is the shine that's I guess the soul, whatever it is that's getting sucked out of these people.
What I love about it is that it feels like there's like different regional lore to this, and like there's different names for similar things, and there might be some crossover, like people that have the shine have steam in them. Like there could be differences, but like I do like that it kind of feels like a word of mouth thing where like the guy from the first movie
Yeah.
taught
Urban
Danny
legend.
that this is the shining, and like you have the shine, whatever, and like it just kind of spreading and everyone having different words for it. Like I think that's so cool, just like in like Walking Dead where
Super cool.
everyone has different names for the zombies based on where they are. Cool shit.
Which seems stupid because you're in that world, you're like, they're fucking clearly zombies.
Call them zombies.
Call
Yeah.
them Z's.
Grow up.
This is where that night Danny has the dream about the mom that's dead. Her arms around him, she's got the flies all over the place. We established later also that Danny, when he sees people like his mom died, there was flies everywhere. So flies are that for him. It's very, very hard, and that is the moment where he's like,
That
I
was
gotta
hard for
change
me
my
to
life.
watch.
Yeah.
It's tough.
That was tough.
because
Well, a little kid being like, man,
I I mean, that's rough too. That's also rough.
Didn't know
But
he said
the
what he
last
could
week
say.
we've been absolutely terrorized in this company by a fly.
Oh,
You know? There's
Yes.
been one single fly in the studio that has
that we
has
know of.
taken over all of our lives.
it is the biggest fly I've ever seen.
Cool Greg has fly traps everywhere.
Does he
And,
really?
Well, he has at least one. And I got
Called on
trapped
immediately.
everywhere.
Close enough.
Really?
I got
Just
trapped
one.
in it
Everywhere.
twice.
I have not seen this fly trap anywhere. Where is
It's
it?
hanging
It
over
was
the
above the
sink.
sink, yeah.
Oh,
And it's just this like little ribbon thing that I didn't notice until I like was washing a dish and I like pulled up and it was just in my hair and I'm like, what the fuck is
Is
happening
that
to
why
me?
your hair was weird yesterday?
Yes.
This all
That
makes
is.
so much more sense.
I love your brother gets an A for effort on that one.
Uh-huh.
I will say, but out of all the places in the office to catch a fly, right above the sink, probably number 2. I would put it right above the trash can, which is where I found the fly last night.
No, dude, the sink with all the nasty ass smells coming from it. The sink's the
I
problem.
mean, but the trash can's got the food in it, where the fly can go lay its larva.
Ew.
Anyway,
Ew.
last night I found the damn thing on the trash can, and thankfully Roger had irresponsibly left a box that he could have broken down very easily and put in the trash can right there. So I grabbed
Roger.
it, and
Was
I
this
hit it
before or after you broke the table out there?
Oh yeah, I did. It was a 1-2 punch right
He
there.
broke the table today. I hit this damn fly, and it does the test of strength thing where it grabs the box and just like pushes it up, and I was like, "This is gonna be a battle." I hit that thing 3 fucking times. Because the
And that
first
was after Roger had hit it earlier.
Yeah, I smacked it.
it was still strong. You didn't hit it hard.
shit.
But you have vanquished the fly.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say, you guys ever do that thing where you hit it first, you're like, yeah, I killed it, and then you have that one moment where you're like, where you take the box up and it's still moving, you freak out, and fucking smash it again.
Every
That's what
time I
happens.
see a spider.
God, what is this podcast? Anyway, Rose gives in that little bit of Violet, and she completes her transition to the chosen one. The True Knot is what they call their gang.
Give it a name, man.
Do you
Why
know what the
hell
True
not?
Knot means?
No.
Oof, it is a weird. Google it, but I believe it's an umbilical cord thing.
Oh, I
Like when there's an
fuck?
umbilical cord that's
Good.
too tight, it's like, forget what it is. It's fucking horrible.
I
Joy's
really
got
don't
it.
like that.
I
You know what I
don't.
also don't like? The heartbeats in this movie.
There's a lot of them.
Incredibly overdone. I get it. I know it's a stylistic choice in the same way that in The Shining, like everything had like a sound associated, whatever. They're trying to do that to like build tension and like they would have like the heartbeats just kind of going and then they'd get faster and then they slow down. But for a 2.5-hour movie, I'm not exaggerating. I'm pretty sure at least an hour of this movie has
heartbeats.
heartbeat.
Yeah.
That's just a lot.
A lot of heartbeats. Danny walks out. Walks down and says, "Billy, I need some help." Billy takes him to an AA meeting led by, that's right, Gerald from Gerald's Game.
I love
Dr.
Bruce
John.
Greenwood, and
Everyone
I'm happy
does.
that he's part of the Flanagan family. And I was delighted to see him pop up because I forgot that he was in this.
My kinky little minx. Gerald's Game. Tim, let me into your house. Let me tie you up.
Have you seen Gerald's Game? Do you
No,
have any context
no.
for this?
I've seen the clips of the ending of the
Okay.
movie on Instagram Reels.
Yeah, Flanagan.
Isn't Gerald's Game the Pixar short?
I
think
hope
that's-
so. I hope it
Where he's
was.
playing chess? Isn't that Gerald's Game?
I think that
No, I don't think it is.
No.
Gerald's Game is Gina Cucino and Bruce Greenwood, and it's a Stephen King short story about a guy that gets
It's
kinky with his wife. and-
Jerry's Game.
Jerry's Game.
yeah.
So close, though. I get
There
it,
we
Tim.
go.
I get
I
it.
get
There
it.
we
That
go.
is close.
I
That's
will
close.
say I want to give a shout out to the guy that plays Grandpa Flick in this, Carol Strykchen, who pops up in some of the best movies ever made. And I will say this. He's probably the first time I've ever seen him not in makeup in this, but he played Lurch in the
Oh,
Addams Family.
yeah.
And he also played one of the
Oh.
aliens in Men in Black.
Oh yes.
Because he's really tall.
He's very tall
obviously.
and has very strong cheekbones, so he looks
Yeah.
kind of very distinctive.
He's also in Gerald's Game.
Yeah, he plays. That's why.
Yeah.
This is the connection. He plays the wraith thing. That she has to deal with.
And surprisingly, he's also in Jerry's Game.
Oh wow.
He plays the tall chess.
And he was
piece.
also in Ewoks Battle for Endor.
Of course, he was. He
Yeah.
played Ewok. It's a tall Ewok. You know what they call a tall Ewok, right? A Wookiee.
It's good.
That got Barrett.
Chewbacca. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We go there, 24-hour chip. Anyway, we go over and he's like, hey, he notices that Dr. John is scratching his wrist and he walks over and for no fucking reason, he's like, hey, I'm gonna do this weird ass thing where he's like, hey, your watch is on the soap dispenser at the
It's
hospital.
fucking bizarre.
So
Weird.
What are you doing,
Why?
bro? You're
Why?
so old.
Right?
You didn't just get this powers yesterday.
Yeah, bro, you can't be saying
You're
shit like
looking
that.
for attention. You're looking for a job.
Totally.
And
You're
Dr.
looking
John,
for
of course, says step in. Oh, go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say, I kind of thought it was like, if we talk about something that I really liked about this movie that kind of is throughout that is different from The Shining, which is like we get a lot more of the front facing, like not subtext of alcoholism and addiction, but like very much text, right, of alcoholism and addiction. And like he kind of treats his power with alcohol, and now that he's sober, he's kind of embracing his power again, his shining, like he's getting it
interesting.
back. And I feel like that's kind of what that was meant to show, that like he spent all of these years doling his shine with like alcohol and drugs, and now that he's 24 hours sober, he's like, okay, I can embrace this part of me again, even just a little bit, to help someone a tiny bit. And I think that that's whole theme of alcoholism is really like prevalent here, and like recovery from that
Yeah.
in a way that I think is so interesting.
And he even has that wonderful speech when he's 8 years sober, and he's like, I envision my dad being here. Like, this is where my dad wanted to be. He just couldn't do it. That's just a great moment.
Good stuff, man.
I'll say this. This is where the movie, to me, shines, no pun intended. This is where we start getting into Green Mile territory, Shawshank Redemption territory. The Stephen King movies that are like more about people being supernatural and like good sort of thing, you know, like Green.
More altruistic.
Yeah, I just think it's really interesting that he's like, I'm going to work at this hospice, this place where, or this old folks home, and then also the fact that the cat has the shine too, which is cool.
Very.
And he follows it in, and we get this great sequence with this older actor who's like, I know exactly what this means. Like, the cat just knows when someone's going to die, and it just hangs out with them and comforts them. And this guy's freaking out, and Danny's like, hey, it's going to be okay. Like, I forget, I wrote it down here. I think he says, do dying people bother you? He's like, no, sorry. I'm skipping around here. He has some great last words for this guy. What are you looking at, Tim?
Don't worry about
Okay, don't worry about it.
No, that scene got me. Like, I was full on sobbing, and like I don't know what happened, but like it just fucking
Hit
like
you.
that immediately. Man, so
Oh.
so touching and beautiful.
So this is how the scene goes. It says the cat always seems to know when it's someone's time. The cat knows it's time to go to sleep. I'm gonna die. And the guy starts freaking out. He goes, I don't know what's going to happen. And Danny knows the guy's telling the truth because he's got the shining. And he tells the man, there's nothing to be scared of. Just going to sleep. Finally, true, restful sleep. And he consoles him. He says, you're a strange type of doctor, a doctor sleep. And the man thanks Danny. He says, you're exactly where you should be. Exactly. And then he goes, I see my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Anyway, Danny's like, cool, I guess I'm here. The man draws his final breath, and we see. This is where it's a little confusing to me because I guess it's just his soul leaving his body, but maybe he's got. I guess everyone's got a little bit of shine in
It's
him.
like, how potent is it? How
Yeah.
potent is that shine?
But it's cool that we've now established that everyone's got a little bit.
Because they talk about it, yeah.
They do. She's like,
Yeah.
most people have it. They just never know it. Like someone thinks like
They're
it's
really
intuition or
lucky
something
or-
like
yeah.
that.
It's the
Yeah.
force.
Or you get, you just ace the
Midichlorians.
test when you didn't study for it, shit like that. But that animals can have it and objects can have it as well because the Overlook Hotel had the shine as well. Anyway, Dan's like, cool. And then he gets home and he finds words on his chalkboard. Hello. Written on the chalkboard. And so he writes back, hi.
Hello there,
Hello
Hey.
there.
Oh, I see what you did.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought you were making a reference to Batman Returns where she smashes out some of the letters and it just spells hell here. Badass
remember
moment. Go back and watch it. Oh, it's supposedly your favorite of the
It
two.
is. It is. Of the two. We have to get that specific. You're right, though. Penguins, man, with rockets.
Fucking
So good.
right on. 8 years later, Danny's pulled
Why?
it together
How does this get mentioned every episode?
I just love those little penguins, man.
because it's 7 degrees of Ewan McGregor, all of it. 8 years
7.
later, 6 degrees. Remember that time I was so hell bent? I was like, I know the answer to this. 3 weddings and a funeral, and everyone's like, you fucking idiot. It's 4 weddings and a funeral. 8 years later, Danny has pulled it together. He talks about his dad and that he drank to feel closer to him. The anger and the drinking and the violence is all he knew of his father, but now he knows him through his attendance to AA. And that's a cool thing to say. He says on the day, all he wanted in the world was to stand here where I'm standing right now. So thank you from both of us. This is for Jack Torrance. And that could have been literally the end of the movie. And I'd be
Yeah.
like, that's fucking cool. What a cool concept. Like this guy who has come full circle and obviously had the gene or the issue of alcoholism in himself, but he's pulled himself through, and that has somehow made him forgive and get closer to his father. Is such a complicated thing, and only Stephen King obviously dealing with alcoholism. I'm sure that he
Mike
draws a lot of
Flanagan
that.
too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I
didn't
think he
realize
just
that.
posted about his like 8-year sober.
Very
Yeah, I
cool.
think he's
Well,
at
good for
6
him.
years sober.
6. There we go.
And beautiful, really, really great. And people are complex. Human beings are complex. However, like, I think that as a movie watcher watching this, I'm like, oh, what a great speech. That's kind of like, there's obviously like Jack was a bad person and he died a bad person, and honoring him and trying to like find the, oh, I wish he was here, whatever. They're almost honoring a him that doesn't exist. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what they're doing, which is good. But like for this kid to have grown up and like his dad tried to murder him and his mom, like there's something about that that's like so much deeper than just the alcohol stuff, which I get. It's a movie and they're trying to like be poetic and shit. But like there's something about that reads fucked up to me, which is real. But like I feel like it's a bit of a stretch that at any point he would be able to move on and forgive his dad for.
Well, remember
the
also
actions.
one of the steps of AA is like asking for forgiveness and like in forgiving yourself and all that stuff too. And so I see that as being a very core and complex, obviously thing. But
Absolutely.
to me, it feels right because remember this is like 8 years later. He's done the work. He's put the work in. He's and him seeing his dad not necessarily as an evil person, but as a person who was dealing with his own demons and flawed and stuff like that. I think is a lot more realistic than just having him be the one note.
I totally get that.
Appreciate it.
If you're saying it for what it is, of like, oh yeah, his dad was like bad and like hit him, and that it's like his dad chased him through a maze with an axe.
But remember also in the book, which he's trying to be faithful for this, the dad was a really good guy who was 5 months sober before he went to the Overlook Hotel that caused him to have all these demons to begin with.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I think this is one of those things where it's trying to serve too many different things,
Yeah,
like so
too
many
many.
different things that, like, in context of the movie The Shining, that's not really accurate. But if you're talking in context of the book The Shining, like, oh yeah, he also is older. He has a better understanding of the power and the fact that the Overlook Hotel is evil, and so I think he's able to place some of that blame away from his dad and into The Shining and the evil that was like there.
Yeah.
So I think that is like one of those little discrepancies that can come from him trying to honor The Shining,
Yeah.
the book, and Shining the movie at the same time.
Tough.
Yeah. It's also interesting just in the sense of like being an adult and seeing your parents as adults and not as parents, and like being
Yeah.
able to separate the two and all those complicated feelings.
Let's see. That night he has another moment where he comforts Charlie, and Charlie's like, I'm really scared that there's nothing else. He goes, I don't know what's after this, but I know it's not. That's not it. There's more after this. And he's like, what do you think is there? And he goes, oh, I think it's probably just haunting young boys. I think he'll be a ghost and just haunt young boys. And then maybe one day he'll just fucking kill someone. And Charlie's like, cool, peace out. And then Charlie dies.
Yeah.
When he goes back, he gets another message that next morning. This is morning from Abra, and he writes back school with a little smiley face. So it's like it's cute. They've been talking for 8 years, and they're pen pals now. Back with the true knot, Crow Daddy tells Rose that Grandpa Flick needs to eat. He needs more steam. He's gotta have the steam. It's getting harder and harder for Crow Daddy to pick up sense of these new kids because these kids are all dirty. They're dirty little kids with dirty little steam, and the steam just gets dirty so fast.
Yeah, they're playing too many video games.
Too many video games.
many
Too much
video
tick.
games.
They got the tick and the talk,
Yep.
and it's making their
All the
steam
vape
gross.
is corroding their actual
Hey,
living
hey,
steam.
Vape is cool.
They're killing the kids and they're just like getting high on nicotine. Like, oh fuck, god damn it,
Galaxy gas bullshit.
galaxy gas.
This is where they find young Bradley, and they follow him home, and they take him to this factory, which I can't remember the name of the factory, but I guess it's a reference to the Dark Tower. And this is where the kid's like, "Are you gonna hurt me?" She's like, "Yeah, we're gonna hurt you," because pain.
Which is like that alone, what a fucking line, right? And this kid, I love the setup of them being at this kid's baseball game and them being a vague reference that's clear of like, oh, he has the fucking Shining because like he can tell the future. He never misses a pitch or whatever. I'm like, that's so great that this kid has this, but like isn't out here like dealing with ghosts and goblins that we know. He's just fucking using it for his own personal gain. It's like Spider-Man playing football real well. It's the whole thing. You know what I mean? Make
The
Flash look
Incredibles.
bad.
like, why wouldn't you?
But I love that setup. But then him walking alone next to like the cornfields and then the van pulling up and the abduction. It's like, dude, like what I appreciated so much about The Shining is when it was more grounded, where it's like, fuck, this is scary because this could really happen. And I appreciate the moments of this, no matter how absurd and mystical and magical it all is. The scariest parts are when it's like there's just a group of adults that are willing to hurt kids for what
And
they're looking
eager.
for.
Yeah.
And like the abduction of it, the kidnapping, it's like that was terrifying. And it just shows how easy that shit can happen, man.
Yeah, seeing the 15-year-old that joined the group or whatever, and she was like all about it. Like she was the one like getting the kid in the van. Like I think that was the turning point. But okay, I understand this a little bit more. Like they're literal like feral creatures that want this and need this.
And Abra, of course, dreams about Bradley's screams. She tells them to stop, and Rose hears her and is like, oh shit, someone powerful is out there. She screams, and Danny's wall erupts with red rum. Red rum.
Oh,
Good
that's
job.
that's maybe your best
Yeah,
one.
see, thank you so much.
We're
That's a
getting
good
it.
one.
They need to make 5 more of these movies now. Danny writes back. She says, he writes back, who? And she writes back, baseball boy. And then Danny writes back, is he friends with basketball boy?
Dude.
And she's like, yeah, he is.
Literally my notes,
How-
I wrote down baseball boy, just
Yep.
remember. Then they call him baseball boy, and then I immediately think about basketball boy, and I hate the people we are.
I know. We ruin everything. Rose tells Crow, Daddy, that they had a looker. They had a look. Well, Tim told me to call him by his
it's-
full
Yeah.
You got
God-given name, Crow Daddy.
I think it was the like slight hesitation
Yeah,
between
yeah.
Crow and Daddy. Like you didn't want to, but you knew that you had to.
I do it. Tim tells me he's my leader. They had a looker, and the looker's so powerful she could see from hundreds of miles away. That's big steam, Tim. Big
So
steam.
sick.
Cool. That was
dude.
cool.
Danny gets ready to believe. Before doing so,
Anime
he writes,
as fuck, man.
very right. He writes one more message. Says, "Hope you're doing okay, friend." Dan. The next day, Abra takes a break from school to read everyone's mind. She checks the missing kids website and finds Bradley Trevor.
Another brutal scene though, like this kid that can read minds, again, very X-Men, and a scene that shows how she's dealing with it. And I feel like what they chose for her to hear from the different people was like really good stuff. The last one just being some kid looking at her and being like, why does the fucking weird kid keep looking at me? Like, can you imagine if you could read minds and you look at someone and their thought is, why the fuck's this weirdo looking at me? Like, that shit's not cool.
Tim,
man.
I
I
wish
think
you
it's
could
the
read my
worst
mind.
superhero power, honestly.
I'm so happy.
I wish you could read my mind all the time. I wish I could tell. I could just talk to you when we were apart, and I could just say stupid shit into your brain.
I think you do. I think you have the shiny because sometimes I hear you, you know?
It's like, give me the pie. Give me a slice of pie. I loved when it was the initial, like her reading the minds. I think it was the first kid who's just like, man, I gotta study. And it like cuts him off mid sentence. I was like, that's awesome.
She's like,
That would've
I
been
don't
my-
care about listening to
Yeah,
the
this
rest
kid
of whatever he
sucks.
I
has to
gotta
say.
study.
Then let's see. Later
what
that
were you
night,
gonna say?
Madeline?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think honestly, the thing that I extrapolate out from that, though, that's so sad is like the fact if you could hear your parents' thoughts of you when you were a kid all the time. And like Danny kind of talks about that. Maybe that is something that's just in the director's cut about how he could see, like, when he could read his mom's mind, that she always was thinking of his dad every time she looked at him. And like how horrifying that would be as a child to know that your parent only felt pain when they looked at you and you could read that in their thoughts is like such a traumatic way to grow up for both of them.
I love that this is coming up in multiple ways because I'm watching True Blood right now, and Sookie can read minds, and the whole reason that she loves, or like a prevailing reason that she loves Bill, because she can't read his mind, and how comforting that is to her that she can just like have a normal relationship. So I honestly do think that reading minds is like maybe the top tier, like worst superpower to have.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a burden at that point.
Are they still married?
In real life,
Anne
yeah.
Paquin? That's nice. I like that. Later that
Whoa.
night. What's that?
That's just crazy because you were talking about True Lies, right? True Blood.
True
True
Blood.
Blood.
True Blood. And you were saying like oh they attract whatever. My first thought was like, oh, like Rogue, and then I was like, wait, no, Rogue doesn't have that. She just can't touch people, but whatever. And then you said Anna Paquin. I was like, holy
Are you
shit.
reading my mind?
Whoa.
Nick's always there.
Tim, what word am I
Sorry.
thinking of right now?
Hi.
I guess it is the synonym for it. Anyway, all right.
Jesus.
Boo.
Boosh.
No.
There you go. There it is. Let's see. Later that night, Abra has a vision of the True Knot and writes down the location of Bradley's body. She uses the power to fucking rotate
I
the
think-
world and drops into the supermarket to see Rose.
I feel like we skipped over how brutal the killing of Bradley was.
Child death.
Yeah.
Like
burial.
the sounds that he made were so concerning. And is this the first time that Rebecca Ferguson also says that like the pain makes it better?
Pain purifies steam.
Yeah.
So does fear. You understand.
I think she sets that up a little earlier because when the blonde
Andy.
girl,
Yeah, Andy had to
it's
be
like, you said it
Filipino.
wasn't gonna hurt. She's like, I didn't say that. Eh, blah, blah."
Yeah.
Pain makes it better. You know what I mean?
It makes it better.
What accent
I
is
don't
this
know, man. I'm
one?
not a good accent guy.
Anyways,
I watched like a BTS of this scene,
Mhm.
and they talked about basically they had to shoot the scene a couple of times because Jacob Tremblay was like having a great time. He was fine, but all of the adults felt so bad about like what they were doing and the sounds that he was making that Mike Flanagan's like, cut, we cannot use this. You guys look upset that you're doing this. You're supposed to look happy and like you're enjoying it. And you guys all look like you're gonna die. And they're like, okay, let's do it again.
I mean, I believe it, man.
Yeah, because that kid is
Incredible
That kid does a great
performance.
job.
That kid is acting.
Did he's the one that he didn't get nominated, but he was in the room, right?
Yeah.
With Brie Larson. Yeah.
in that Good Boys movie.
He's fucking great.
It's just fun. Let's just be real.
Oh, did you watch it?
Oh, I watched it on plane. Great plane movie.
Which one was Good
Oh,
Boys?
it's a
Boys?
great
Oh, the one
plane
with the three
movie.
kids?
Three
Yeah.
kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The one
Yeah.
that came out right on the time Sausage Party came out, and everyone's like, I guess we're just back to being
We're just
very
back.
perverted.
Yeah, and then I also watched Strays on a
Oh,
on a plane.
Jesus.
Strays is just good boys, but dogs.
Dude, the amount of hype that Snowbike Mike had for that movie. It's
Roger,
like,
you know Strays? You know the Strays
He's
movie?
like, oh man, Strays, man, that looks so good, man. We gotta watch that.
This
I
is
will
what-
say,
yeah.
probably my least favorite thing of this whole movie is the visual effect of the glowing eyes that Rebecca Ferguson has.
I don't like that, and I don't
then
like the
little-
steam. I can't do
yeah.
the steam. It just looks too fake. Like any time we do any type of vapor in movies, it
particles are hard.
It's tough. It's tough. It's rough.
They should ask us for our fog machine in the
I
lab.
know.
We've got
Real,
one.
Make it practical.
real
Should I
shit.
bring it in here? I'll disagree with you because I just love the cat's eyes. It is such a fucking monstrous thing, and I think they did it in Blade Runner, and I think they did it practically with contacts. So every once in a while, if the light shined properly on the actress's eyes, you'd just see it, and it would just catch, and it would just go like silver. And I think that's so cool because like that look to me again is synonymous with like vampires in the Stephen King world, where like the vampire in Salem's Lot had that too, where it's just glowing,
Yeah.
just the pupils, not the actual full eye. I think it's cool.
Did this movie do that though?
Yeah, Rebecca
like-
Ferguson.
Just look like glowing thing. I thought it looked like fucking like I could do that in Adobe.
Oh, I mean, you definitely could just
Yeah.
check the eyeball,
Didn't
have a
like-
mask.
Contacts, all that. So I don't think they went that
Oh, I
high.
don't think they went that high. There's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah,
there. I just think it's cool, otherworldly. This is where we get the supermarket scene where she pops in and Rebecca Ferguson
my
sees
God,
her.
I talked about it earlier, but like, what a goddamn shot! Like this entire sequence for like 3 minutes. I'm like, this is the coolest fucking thing
fucking
I've
sick.
seen, man. Like,
Yeah.
it really felt like this movie was made because Mike Flanagan's like, I have a dope ass idea for something that people have never seen before. Like, this felt like it started with Superman, but it ended cooler than anything I've seen in Superman. You know what I mean?
This, I think, is a different
Fuck
scene that you're
Superman.
thinking of. This is the scene where Abra finds her first, and they're in the market, the supermarket. You're thinking of the scene where she goes, I have to find this girl, and then flies into
Yeah.
the world. Yeah, that's cool as fuck, too. And apparently Mike Flanagan was like, that took him a long time to figure out and to shoot. This is the sequence where she's like,
I also love the supermarket scene though.
that shit's dope, where
Yeah.
she pushes her back and smashes
Oh,
the glass.
Okay, yeah. Fucking awesome. But yeah,
And then
you're,
Rebecca
you're right.
Ferguson's
The Earth
like-
scene's what I'm talking about.
Rebecca Ferguson has a perfect moment here where she's very, very
Does Superman take place in a grocery store?
You know, the Flash does though.
could have. Anyway, this is another one of those moments where her hat drops, and the lady that works at the supermarket goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, did you drop your hat?" And Rose the Hat's like, "Don't touch my hat." And I was like, "Oh, the hat's gonna be kind of a thing later," and she just really likes this hat. That's
I
it.
mean, I get it, man. It fits her vibe.
If
I
you're-
don't want the
bad
hat, but I
vibe.
want her in the hat.
If your name was Rose the Hat, you gotta have the hat.
You do.
I think that I wonder if it's like when Tim puts on a bomber jacket and becomes like ultimate
Real
Tim.
Tim, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's her in the hat.
guarantee it.
Joey gets it.
It's just like
Uh,
you feel the most powerful. At least that's what I
Yeah.
imagine.
Over at AA, Danny passes out because of the sheer magnitude and power of Abra, and he goes, "Please help me, Tony. Help me, Tony. Talk to me, Goose." This is his moment. Abra gets on the bus and heads over to Frasier. She sees Dan and says hi with The Shining, and he's like, "Fuck, that's crazy." And then they sit over on the bench, and I start thinking to myself, someone's gonna think this is creepy.
Yeah.
And that's Dan's first
Immediately.
thought. He's like, "We can't do this."
Yeah. Thank
Like,
God they
I'm a
addressed
recovering
it.
addict. I've done some crazy shit. Nobody's gonna buy that I'm just hanging out with you in an innocent way. And she goes, "Well, you're my Uncle Dan. I know everything about you anyway."
You're my Uncle Dan.
Yeah, let's
That's
shake hands.
gonna be okay.
Let's shake hands. That's
a
gonna be a
book
normal
thing,
action.
though, where they
Yeah.
he actually is her uncle in the book, right? Isn't there some like familial?
Yes. So in the
tie?
book, I believe she is related to him. I
I hate
believe
that.
that Danny's dad had a illegitimate child, and that was his
Get
half
the
brother.
fuck out of here.
And that she is Uncle Dan. That's why she has. So it's like a familial shining thing. That's why she's so powerful because Danny's so powerful. Could be wrong, but I think that was a piece of trivia I read. Also, I skipped over it, but like I do want to point out, and I meant to point them out. There are so many things that are not just homages in this, but legit, straight up the same thing from the first movie. Dr. John's office is exactly the office, Ullman's office from
Yes.
the Overlook, which is fucking like spitting image, same paint, same everything, same layout.
That's so
Just
cool.
badass. And then there's a moment where, for whatever reason, Danny's reading a Playgirl or Playboy, and it's the same one his dad was reading when he was waiting in the Overlook lobby on closing day for his first day there. So just there's a lot of those little touches there where they're like, we'll just throw an Easter egg in here for shits and giggles.
I love
not?
that.
That's fun. Let's see. He's like, look, listen, let me tell you something. I had a friend named Tony. That's why I used to call him. He's my shining. These people, this true not. These guys are scary. Leave them the fuck alone. Don't use your shining anymore. Get out. You got to hide from the world. Your power. They're just gonna come in. They're gonna eat your steam. And she's like, well, that sucks. Let's see. This is where he's reading the Playgirl, which is crazy. Good job, Nick. Way to pay attention. And this is where he goes. He sees the cat, and the cat goes into a room. And he's like, "You stupid cat. There's no one dying in here." And he looks up, and Halloran's there. And Halloran's
Very.
like, "Hey, man, what the fuck are you doing?" Like this little girl
up,
came to you
dog?
for help. And he's like, we don't get to pick who we help, right? This all comes full circle. He calls it the Ka, but it's destiny, right? Ka is, I guess, a word that they use in the Dark Tower. It's a vernacular for destiny. It's like, this all comes full circle. This is your destiny. You're supposed to help this person. You're at where I was at. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? He goes, what was I supposed to do? When you came here, you just showed up on my doorstep, and I was like, well, I gotta
No,
help
you walked into my kitchen.
Like, walked to my kitchen, yeah. He's like, imagine my surprise. And so he's like, you gotta go help this girl. Why me?
I
And he
kind of
goes,
like this in terms of like you always have like a protege type thing that you're kind of trying to help manage this gift.
Well,
and I love that.
I do too until you
and a
realize.
Thank you.
master. You know, help me Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor.
Yeah,
It's all
brother.
connected. The Force Awakens is what this movie is, but better in some ways, worse in others. Well, a lot of stuff.
I'm with Joey and I'm with Tim.
Yeah.
I love the mentor mentee come full circle. Don't love that the mentor has to wind up a fucking ghost at the end of all these little
That's how it works,
Yeah.
though. I'm
It
just
is how it
surprised they
works.
weren't
I
blue.
agree.
Great
Force
moment
ghost.
here where he's like why
There's
me?
a lot of connections.
I'm telling you.
It's true. He says, why me? And he goes, because she found you. What am I supposed to do? Give her what she asked for. He says, you grew up fine, but you still owe me a debt. Pay it. A bad thing to say to someone.
Sick.
Crazy. Didn't he say something in the beginning of like the interaction? Maybe I misheard, but he's like, "This is the last time I'm going to talk to," or something like that. Where
Well,
he's
Yeah.
like,
he's like, this is the last dream. Because for him, they established, I think at the beginning of the movie, or maybe in a different movie, I can't remember, but when he visits him, he's like, it's nebulous for him. He doesn't understand time. He just kind of comes and goes for the spirit realm and skips around. So he's like, this is the last dream that we're going to have. Like, I'm going to have.
Okay.
So he dreams of the real world, apparently, or something like that. Anyway. Let's see that this is the part where Rose starts meditating on top of the van, and then she goes through time and space
Yeah.
and winds up in Abra's room. But
It's so sick.
But Abra's ready
so
for her.
This movie did what Last Jedi couldn't. I'm saying it.
"Wow."
Oh no.
Well, you know, a lot
Don't
of people
explain
say,
more. Don't,
I don't
just
need
leave
to.
it. Just leave
Anyone
it.
that watched this movie, you know what I'm talking about.
Fuck.
Love this sequence. Love that she put like a mental wig on and like blurred her face or
Aw,
features so that Rose couldn't
so
tell exactly
cool.
who she was.
Fucked,
She has
love
this cool filing cabinet thing where she traps Rose's hand.
She's
and it-
scurrying around. I'm just like, God damn,
But if
dude.
she has that power, why didn't she like change like her house? You know what I mean? Like the outside of the house is like the same. Am I wrong? Like,
yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean,
What didn't she
She's
want
a
to
kid.
lure her in, though? She
Yeah,
wanted
because
to
I think
get
it's
in
supposed
there.
to be a trap.
Mm.
So
It's a
she's
trap.
like,
This movie's just Star Wars.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
it's true.
No.
Fire everything.
I will
What-
say, the special effects of this hand
Yes.
is the same people who did the Gerald's Game hand as
Yep.
well. So there's a lot of hand trauma going on.
A lot
in
of sleeving.
This
the
hand shit
Flanagan
was-
universe.
Booked up.
Yep.
Watch Gerald's Game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're gonna
Oh.
love it.
You and G, I
Like-
think, would love Gerald's Game.
Yeah.
This sequence is awesome. We see that there's a library of some sort back there too as well. I can't remember what that was for. She kind of glosses over it, but she's like, "We're all just libraries." And I'm like, okay, this is weird. Okay, cool. Grandpa's dying,
Categorize
of
all your
course.
stuff and file it away. You know.
Yeah, it's like in SpongeBob.
I don't know.
Totally.
He knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
when Gary, when he has the dream and he goes inside of Gary's head, and then Gary has the library. He fucking Barrett knew.
Gary
Barrett
gets
knew.
it.
Everyone
Gets
knows.
it. Barrett
Real
gets it.
gamers
Just
know.
that episode.
Abra messages Uncle Dan via his mind and tells him that she fucked Rose up real good. She's like, "He's gonna write a message." Remembers just, and then he remembers he's gonna write a message, and then he remembers like, just talk to the kid because I can just talk to her, right? And so he says, "If we're gonna do this, then let's do this." Meanwhile, Grandpa Flick is dying.
Do you know who the ghost of the guy from the first movie? Do you know who he is? The actor
The ghost of the guy from the first movie.
that was talking to Danny in the room. Halloran. I think his
Halloran.
name is. Yeah.
Yeah, Dick Halloran.
You know the actor?
I just know.
He's in what was it? The newest. Wait, you talking about the original Shining or this?
No, in this one.
Yeah, he was in the newest Fall of House Usher. He was the what's it called?
He's
the
also
police chief.
He's Isaiah Bradley from Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
the
shit.
The original Captain
Oh,
America.
okay.
No, that's cool. He's a good actor. Great job. Meanwhile, Grandpa Flick, Lurch, is dying, and it's really creepy. And he's like, he hasn't eaten in a long time. And he's like, we need a nice big whale. And then his eyes glow like a cat, and it's cool. And the True Knot's like, well, he's kind of dying. Can't let it go to waste, so they just suck that steam. Suck it all in. And
The
poor
perfect
Grandpa
amount
just
of
dies.
time between him dying and them all just descending upon
Yeah.
it. I
Yep.
love that shot from above.
Is this where she like gives the speech about like you've done so much in your life?
Yeah.
Yes.
So cool. I
You've
loved
seen
that, dude. Like the
all the
lore
stuff.
of it. Like they built statues of you and like you fucking won a NASCAR race and like you did all this cool stuff.
You wore a lot of
Like,
bomber jackets.
It was so cool, man.
You saw him come in and then go out and then come back in again.
She's like, you can't be afraid, you eat fear. And I was like,
Oh.
what a hype speech to die by.
Yeah, dude. Rebecca Ferguson, man. I need her there when I die.
Dan heads down to recruit Billy, and to Billy's again credit, he's like, look, man, I'm gonna tell you some crazy shit, and then I need you to come with me. Billy's like, I'll get my gun.
From that moment on, I'm like, damn, Billy, you were the most ride or die. Because I
Yeah.
got some ride or dies in my life, and I ride or die for a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But this seems like more of like a, not even a choice of ride or die. We're going to die.
Yeah,
Because it just
yeah,
seems, talking to this guy when you
Yeah.
don't know that any of this mystical, magical shit exists, and he's like, so hear me out. This is all the stuff. I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
There's not a chance in hell I'm going with you. You're talking to the backseat of the car?
But if somebody can read your mind and talk to you through the head, can they do that? Or you have to both have Shining?
You have to both have it, I think.
I think you
Yeah,
both
if they
have
talked to me in my head, I'd be there. I would
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he has a little bit of the
No,
Shining.
they don't have to both be there because she can show the Shining to her dad.
Oh.
She can be like, hey,
So
I
then,
have
yeah,
this
if
power.
someone's talking in my head, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They should have
I
shown
guess
that, though.
that's
You know what I mean? Just a little bit.
Was that in the extended cut?
Maybe.
They do have a scene with Abra's dad where before she shows him the baseball boy scene, she like makes a loud noise. She like yells inside his mind to kind of show him that she can get in there.
Get all
We
from
have we got a lot of
Can
cool.
you imagine if Nick could do that to you?
I just really don't want to.
Tim, everywhere he went, he would just hear Tim.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I do.
Let's see. They go out to the spot where the kid was killed. Abra hitches a ride. She says that she can give things a little push, and then when she does, she sees Danny's coffin. She's like, "What's in there?" He's like, "You gotta stay out of there. Trust me, you don't want to be in there." They find Bradley's body, and the smell is terrible. And fucking Cliff Curtis has an awesome moment where he's like, "I used to be a hunter," and he tells this story about stalking this deer. And you're like, he's like, "I never wanted to hunt again." I was like, Jesus Christ, that was crazy. They find the kid's glove. They use the kid's glove to track down everyone else, and then they're like, "Hey, we have to. We're gonna set up a little trap for them. We're gonna play a trick on them." The True Knot reaches Abra, who was meditating on a park bench. This is where they all kind of converge on her. Rose is not there. Important to note, because they're like, Rose, you can't be there if she takes you over or whatever. Like, we're done. We need you. You have to stay back behind. This is a great sequence where Andy's like, you're getting real sleepy. You're getting real sleepy. She goes, dang, I thought that would be easier. Looks back. It's a teddy bear. You're like, oh, shit. And this is where you're like, I'm a little scared for Andy, even though she's clearly a 27-year-old adult. With a PhD, maybe
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
She's had
yeah,
a lot of
I get
time
it.
on this planet. They start popping off, and
Love this trap. This
we
whole
just
thing
start
sings.
shooting people
See, I
left
thought
and right.
there was gonna be something a little more like elaborate and like heady in this one, right? Like maybe they're gonna get in people's minds. Like, no, we just
Oh,
got
like
guns.
Inception
we just
shit?
got we just
Yeah.
got guns. We're just gonna
Which,
start shooting
again,
these fuckers.
I appreciate it because it feels like this movie does things movies don't do. It's just like normally it would be, we're gonna have this whole Inception plan. We're going 3 levels deep. and we have
Yeah.
This is like, no, like
Yep, we're gonna kill 'em
we're
all.
gonna do the trap and then we're gonna shoot your bitch asses with our freaking deer guns. You know, like that was I thought really cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that this whole sequence kind of made them feel less scary. Like, I don't know, like just the fact that they can just get shot in the head and they're done. I'm
That's
like, oh.
my thing. Is the more we
Yeah.
kind of
Love it.
Because they didn't know that was gonna work, right?
The trap?
no.
Or
They
like
didn't know
that
that bullets
shooting
would work
them
on them.
would like kill them,
Why wouldn't they're people?
but they're like undead vampire-y people, right?
Yeah, but like every person we've seen in this so far has just been like, it's still a person, still like, you know, maybe they're a weird naked person, but they're still people.
With.
Delicious.
Here we go. Yeah, cool. But a reversal though. Crow Daddy's not there either. Guess where he is? He's in the kitchen of
Oh,
Abra.
man.
He's like, and he has killed her dad. And you're like, wow, that fucking sucks. We
Dude,
killed the dad.
crazy shit, man.
Sucks.
Your dad's dead.
He takes her and he puts her in the car and he's drugging her up left and right. And she's like, I can't use my power because I'm too drugged out. And Danny's like, fuck, I'm freaking out. Wait a minute. Her mind's like a radio. Maybe she can't contact me, but I can contact her. So he starts looking out. And then he finds her and he's like, are you here? She's like, yeah, but I'm real tired. And he goes, just let me fucking in.
Is this-
Let me fucking cook.
Billy dies.
We skipped that, right?
We skipped that.
Which one was? Oh, Bill, yeah.
Dude.
Before Andy, before Bill.
so sad.
She
Yeah,
uses
that's
her
right.
fucking Gios on him and she's just like, I command you to die. And he's like, bah. And I'm like,
Yeah,
holy
shoot
shit,
yourself.
I can't believe they did that on
That made me,
the
that
show.
made me
sad.
so sad.
Brutal.
That made me so
Very
I
sad.
just
sad.
have Billy No in all caps.
But now that Barrett's back in the room, Barrett, I'm sending Acid something that I definitely
no.
popped off for. No, it's not bad at all. But a scene earlier when Abra's mom is like talking to her, like right before Rebecca Ferguson like comes and attacks the house or whatever. Just right above her, there's just like this insanely dominant Ruby poster.
Yes.
Oh, shoot. There's a bunch of
Oh,
there's a
there's so
statue
many.
and stuff like that
Warner
too.
Brothers,
yeah.
man. Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
man.
like, what do we
Yeah,
got
gotta
to
get it.
throw in
Just
this
look
set
at that. Like,
dressing?
just so I was like,
And then she
whoa,
had
what
some,
the
I think
fuck?
she had Ruby
crazy.
figures and
Yeah,
stuff
she had a
too.
figure by the first time we see her by
Hell
her bed.
yeah.
She's got a little Ruby figure. It's
That's
cool.
cool, man.
This scene fucking
so
rocks.
random.
Because Danny's like, let me just cook real quick. Pops up, and I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but Abra's eyes change color. They're his color,
Oh yeah,
which is cool as fuck.
so sick, dude.
And Bill's and Crow Daddy's like, oh shit, who are you? He goes, I'm the one that killed your friends.
Oof.
And he's like, and Crow Daddy's not scared yet, but he's like, and then he goes,
But
he's
his
like,
little antennas are up, you know?
yeah, they're on there. And then he goes, it's arrogance. Arrogance really stands to reason you think you're gonna live forever. You wouldn't use your seatbelt, and then force pushes his ass right into a tree.
So fucking cool.
And Crow Daddy just flies out and dies. And then
A prolonged death.
Yeah.
Abra, of course, then it comes face to face with Rose. She calls her a little bitch, and then of course Rose just walks right through her, straight through her. Rose knows the challenge. When
walks
she
through
sees one,
Rose.
she takes all through. Or she walks through Rose. She goes to her little vial cabinet. She's like, I'm going to superpower this up, and it just drinks all the steam. And then her hand, we know she's powerful because her hand heals. And it's like, okay. And this to me is like where the movie falls a little short, because again, my big problem with it is that I don't buy Rose as the all-powerful almighty. She needed to be so far beyond Abra that I felt that Abra couldn't take her. And at no point do I think this kid who's like can literally move the freaking
Yeah.
world is
She
gonna
was
have
getting
any trouble
fucked
with
up
this.
from the very beginning by this child, right? Like it wasn't even like a question. of,
Just
like,
ripped.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because it doesn't make any sense that we need the Overlook. Because I'm like, I'm pretty sure Danny and Abra could just take her. Now, granted, Danny wants to protect her, and so he's like, we have those moments where he's like, I'm treating you more like a child. But at the very end, you're like, she's just gonna fucking cook this lady.
Yeah. We
Not
knew.
that hard.
Yeah, but like I'm a sucker for going. We got to go back.
Of
We got to
course.
go back.
Mhm.
Dan, let's see. Oh, that's right. That's where Dan finds Abra held up in a hotel. At least it's a Coke establishment, which is nice. Danny drives Abra to Colorado. She's like, where are we going? And he's like, look, we got to go to this place. She goes, didn't you say it was dangerous? He goes, yeah, but if it's dangerous for people like us, it's going to be dangerous for her too. And that's where we get the first hit of the music,
Oh, that's so
the
good.
Shining music. And we go, and I think they park at the same gas station that they parked at before. And she's like, how much farther? He goes, just up the mountain. As they go, we are mirrored. We mirror the helicopter shots in the first
But it's
movie.
nighttime.
But it's nighttime and it's snowing. And
Cool.
it's terrifying. They go in. He says, hey, listen, there's only one road in and one road out. We've established that in the first movie. We also established that it's impossible for cars to get here when it's snowing, but whatever.
It's
I'll
a light
let that
snow. It's
go.
the first one.
I'll let that go.
Been 10 years, probably 8 years, right?
You figure
So,
you
Yeah.
figure they fixed the
they
road.
got some new snowplows.
Yeah. Global warming.
Oh, of course.
Fun.
They would, of course, dedicate millions and millions of dollars to this road work, to this hotel that's decrepit and old.
Yeah,
And it's been,
dilapidated.
He goes, look, I want you to keep a lookout for Rose. When Rose comes, psychically
Also-
tell me.
No emphasis on snowcats in this movie
No.
compared to the first one, where they talk about snowcats nonstop.
Can't shut up about him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, have you heard about the Snowcat 2000?
Also,
do you see the shed the Snowcats?
my
were in?
brain just kept on thinking like capitalism brain, and I was like, "There's no way this place would have shut down." You know what I mean?
No.
Like they would have continued it. They would have made it like a haunted resort or whatever. This place wouldn't have actually
In
shut down.
1980, though,
It's
you have
prime
no-
real estate.
you
That's a
have
nice
no
place.
viral marketing, but they don't even have like it's only a summer lodge. It's not a
They
winter
can
lodge.
figure it out.
We're
You
gonna
know,
figure it out.
technology,
Roger, me and you, we're
technology.
gonna figure this out. Let's go.
Let's
dog.
do it
Let's
right
make
now.
some dollars.
Let's do it right now.
Can't
Love
wait for
this
Nick to
sequence.
blame you for everything breaking.
we just won't have any wooden tables.
Roger can't leave boxes anywhere either.
No, the box
bigger
came in
issue.
clutch. To be fair, the box was my weapon last night. It's my only defense.
Roger leaving boxes everywhere now.
Yeah.
We cut over and they're parked outside. He goes, "When Rose comes, let me know. And you guys stay in here with the car on though." And he goes, she goes, "What? I can't. You're not gonna stay here with me?" He goes, "No, I have to go in there and wake it up."
Dude, come on. I mean, this entire lead into this, I know I just missed it, but like, it's perfection. If anybody that's played Metal Gear Solid 4, they did it. Like, they did exactly that, and they did it perfectly. And I was so in for this. And of course, you're like, all right, cool. This has to be a sequel. Of course, we got to go back. Of course, we got to do whatever. If you just stop being a little baby, you know what I mean? If you can just fucking
Look at me when you say it.
enjoy the art being given to you, where you're like, let's fucking
Tell him.
have some fun with this shit.
Tell him, Tim.
God, this is fun.
That's
It's
cool.
awesome. And
You
him,
were not allowed to say "tell it, Tim" because you
Tell
were
it to
also
Tim.
on Roger's side
Let him fucking
3
have
minutes
it.
ago.
I
Let this
love
kid
this
know he's
shit.
got to grow up. Daddy needs his sauce. We go to the boiler room, which we've seen once. We saw it before. He starts fiddling around with stuff
Which
there,
is-
waking shit up.
Yeah, which is great.
Very cool. We head over, and then of course we walk by room 237, and then we walk to the Golden Ballroom, and he can't help himself. He walks in, and it's the exact same shot as from The Shining. Very, very tracks him as he walks across.
You know,
He's an empty glass in front
not
of
the
him.
exact same shot, and that bothered me. I was hype as fuck because we get the camera following him down the hallway, and I'm like, they're gonna do the same cut of having to go over. The camera just turns, and I was like, Flanagan.
Flanagan.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like following him into the room.
Oh yeah,
Like when in The Shining, it like the camera tracks him down the hall, and then you like the
Goes
camera
through
just
it.
goes through the
Yeah.
like pillar, but this kind of just like turns, and I
Oh,
was
I
like,
didn't realize
ah,
Guess I didn't notice.
Flanagan.
Flanagan.
Come on.
Well, we get to meet old Lloyd the bartender, but it's not Lloyd the bartender. It's Jack Torrance, or is it? Because of course Jack's been on there all the time. It's always just the cycle of that whole vibe. But man, this character from the side just has it, man. He's got that Jack Nicholson vibe. And then we cut to the front of him. It's less Jack Nicholson, but still good. Shout out to Henry Thomas. I love this sequence where he's like, "Are you gonna?" He calls him Pup, which apparently he called him in the book when he was chasing around. Pup, pup, pup. And he says, "Are you gonna drink your medicine?" And he's like, "No, I'm not gonna drink my medicine today." And then
Hell yeah, man! I'm so happy he didn't.
Oh, you can't do it. You can't fall off that.
And
Well,
this
if he
scene is
had,
not
he would
in
have
the
fallen off the
book.
wagon.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
not.
No, so this was one of the things I was reading about in one of the BTS things that like basically this was Mike Flanagan's pitch to Stephen King for making this movie, and this was like the scene that convinced Stephen King to give like his blessing. Was this original like monologue and conversation between Dan and Jack, which I thought was so good because it
That's
hits like
cool.
all the beats that you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool. I wrote down one line where he
She's
talks
so
about
talented.
it before we see who he's talking to. You hear the voice.
Yeah.
Before we see who he's talking to, he says, "A man takes a drink, the drink takes a drink, and then the drink takes the man. Ain't it so, Dad?" And then it cuts out, and you see him. You're like,
Oh.
very cool. Rose is here. She's here. And we go in and we see the typewriter and we see the iconic lobby. And then we have a redo basically of the sequence where they're moving up the stairs, except this time Ewan McGregor's holding this nice, big, beautiful, shiny axe. I did miss a moment where he's walking around the hotel and he pokes his head through the door of the bathroom.
I love it.
And we get a flashback sequence, which I don't love. Because I'm
Oh,
like,
really?
obviously we know what this is.
Yeah.
I didn't need it. It's the only sequence we get of Shelley Duvall in that
I
in that
love
moment.
it. I think that she did a really great job recreating
The mom.
that
Yeah.
scene.
Sorry, not Shelley Duvall, the actor, the character,
Yeah.
Wendy.
And I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
It's a little fan servicey,
It's
but I
fan
don't give a fuck.
yeah.
I'm in, dude.
Rose is like, I'm a fucking, I'm super Rose now. I drank all the vials. I got all the steam in me. And they're like, yeah, that's because you don't know where you're standing. You don't know where the fuck you are. And then boom, their eyes go white. And then she's in the hedge maze. And and she's like, and Abra's walking around and just doing the little pet cemetery thing. Just fucking little cuts, death by 1,000 cuts. And then Rose is like,
Taylor Swift?
cool. And then Rose,
I do love it. She's
Yeah.
running by. God,
But then Rose uses
And you
Rose
only
does
ever
that
see
thing
like
that
her heels on
Yeah.
the turns and stuff.
Rose did the thing that Superman did, right? In that awesome Justice League movie, Justice League, right?
Yeah, of course,
Justice
yeah.
for
My favorite,
Zack Snyder,
my
right? Or
favorite,
whatever his
yeah.
name was. Not the Justice Josh version, the Zack Snyder version we all know and love, of course.
is the
4-3,
Zack Snyder version.
black and white, chef's kiss. Why wouldn't that be a superhero movie? I love black and white. It's fucking
What are you
awesome.
doing?
But there's a moment in that movie.
Where
of
are
course-
we with this?
There's a moment in that movie, of course, where Flash is like, "I'm fucking fast,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna get Superman to kick his ass," and Superman just looks at him, and then grabs his ass, right?
And
She
then
grabs him.
we have Wonder Woman go, Kyle, no.
How dare you?
That's what
Dare you,
happens,
sir.
man.
How dare you, sir? She of course gets Abra, but that's all part of the plan, right? Because interesting visual, a little more comical than I want it to be. The box just creeping up behind her the entire time. Little weird.
Yeah, a little weird.
She shatters the
Very
whole
weird.
thing. She's like, "Go fuck yourself," whatever. Danny's like, "Shit, it didn't work." Abra, run. Abra runs, even though we know she doesn't need to run or whatever.
I
And
also
then-
love the top down view of the maze, but
Yeah.
so much bigger.
so much bigger. Danny, of course, gets over very quickly overtaken by Rose, and then Rose looks into his brain. She like digs through his face and shit. Looks through his brain. She's like, "Ooh, what are those? What's in those boxes?" And she starts. He's like, "Don't open them." Wink, wink. And she's like, "I'm gonna open the boxes." She does, and she's like, "Oh no, who are all these people?" He goes,
Oh, no.
I forget what he says. Something to the degree of like they're old friends and they're hungry. And then all the ghosts come out and they just eat the shit. They just fucking destroy Rose.
So that's what was in the boxes that Roger left everywhere.
Yep.
Oh.
Exactly.
Well, you
Comes
can.
full
It's
circle.
super easy to see though because most of the boxes were broken. You just peek inside. Got your ass.
He got me.
You
bro.
got God, dude.
He got my
I
ass.
do apologize. I think I missed the sequence here where Danny was possessed. He had the one eye, and then and yeah,
and he's
she
running
was,
around with trying
He's
to
running
find
around with the
Abra.
axe, and then Abra's like, "Stop, Uncle Dan." And he's like, "I can't hold him off for much longer." Yada, yada. Oh, that's after this.
No,
sorry.
that's after.
That's
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
this.
You
That's
missed
after.
the one where
So
he
she-
gets
hitting
cut.
the axe.
Yeah.
Oh right,
Or
he gets
hit
cut.
with the axe.
She gets killed. He gets possessed. He becomes one of the ghosts. He chases
Also,
after
getting
Abra.
hit with the back end of the axe. Ooh,
Tough
like
one.
the-
That's what it's for.
ooh. I had
The
a lot more
femoral
like
artery.
physical reactions to this movie than I did in theaters.
He's like, "Look," we go into the boiler room. He's like, "Look, you got to go." And she's like, "Uncle Dan, what are you gonna do?" And he's like, I gotta put this place to bed once and
Someone's
for
got
all."
to stay back and close the door.
Yeah, someone's got to close the door. And so he closes the door. He lights the place on fire. The whole place is about to erupt. He drops to his knees, looks over. Beautiful shot where the camera pans over and it's young Wendy, his mom. And then it pans back over and he's a little kid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she's like, "It's okay, man. They all float down here, Georgie."
Literally
And it's like,
direct
"Mom,
quote, yeah.
where am I going?"
Yeah.
She goes, "You're going to hell, Daddy.
Oh no.
Hell." And the whole place explodes.
I'm just a little confused about this ending, right? Of like, why did we need to go back here for this? Like, he had all of these ghosts in his head that he could have just released anywhere else. It's just because it's powerful. It's a powerful
Because
place.
it's
I
dangerous.
think you missed the point of the first fucking movie, Roger. The place is evil. The place
yeah,
is
but
the
then
evil
but then
thing.
all these ghosts are leaving. They don't give a fuck about this place. They're showing up in his bathroom and everything. They can go anywhere. He could have just walked up to a random street and just been like, "Hey, here's all these ghosts."
It's true. I don't think he intended to let the ghosts out. The ghosts out. I think his point. Don't laugh at me. I think his point was that the hotel will attack her because it's dangerous.
yeah.
So if it attacks Danny and Abra, it would attack her even more because it knows that she's powerful and wants to make her one of the own, which it did. But
Sure.
I think that they were worried that they weren't gonna
Have enough.
have the juice.
Sure.
from here, of course, we go over and we go back to Abra, and she recalls hearing the screaming in the hotel room as it burned. Danny appears to her like Halloran did. He tells her he was wrong. He's like, "I'm sorry, I was totally wrong. I told you to not use your powers." He's like, "But you got to do. It's come full circle. It's destiny. You got to shine on. You got to use your powers, and you got to use them for good. You got to go hunt these ghosts down now." And as she leaves her room, and her mom's like, "Who are you talking to?" She's like, "No one." And then she goes, "You know what? I was talking to Dan, Uncle Dan." And she goes, "I just want you to know, like, Uncle Dan's okay. We go on after he's okay, and so is Dad." And she's like, "Fuck."
Can you imagine being this mom?
No, it would suck.
Be like, "Hey,
And then Abra, of course, looks
Dinner?
back into her room. She sees Mrs. Maitland in the bathtub. And then, just like the scene with Danny, she walks into the bathroom, looks toward the camera, shuts the door. And that is The Shining.
Like, come on.
The
man.
Doctor Sleep. Excuse
Get
me.
fucking hype.
Mm-hmm.
Sick shit.
That
I love
sequence
this,
is
man.
Hell yeah.
Nonsense. Legacy sequel, baby.
Fine.
There you go.
There you go. Now it is time to do something I like to call Ragu Bagu.
Ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Ragu.
Bum, 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 bum.
Ragu. I'm never on the show.
I love how eager you are to jump in. You're the
I'll
one.
do it though.
What's up, everybody?
Pointed to him. I don't know that Roger had a bunch of a choice.
You gotta just be ready for it here.
It's
I was
jazz,
proud of you
everybody.
for figuring out
I
a
did
song.
something. I
Like
did
Joey, did anyone want me to go into a 5-minute diatribe about Zack Snyder's Justice League?
That
But
was
I
a
did.
real hard one to follow. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, but I'm
Still
glad
not
you
sure
did
where
it.
he lands on the Justice
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys here for The Shining in review. Rose the Hat and the True Knot. I mean, they're actually bad guys, so I would say
Yeah.
they go number one because they're cool and they got cool powers.
Dude, I so easily put these number one, and like I don't give a fuck if I get hate for this stuff. Great squad of bad guys. Love the different abilities. They use the abilities to great extent, including killing kids violently. Shit's fucking wild to me. Love the plot. Love the hat. Rebecca Ferguson, number one. Didn't like the Overlook Hotel as a bad guy, so there we go.
Yeah,
There you are.
No, you're right. I mean, as much as I
Can't
don't,
believe this. I thought I was gonna be so alone.
no, as much as I don't love this movie, like, yeah, they're the only actual bad guys, right?
Yeah.
The Overlook is just kind of like a ominous general thing. Like, we got a whole squad of people here.
Yeah,
Gotta
this
put
one
them
feel
on.
like it. The Shining feels like a little bit more of like a shallow take, obviously on the horror stuff, and then it goes really deep on Jack, and we get a lot more depth on everybody else in this.
Madeline, what do you think?
Agree. Yeah, I think Rose is an easy number one. She's obviously, it's interesting because I feel like we talked about the background of everybody and maybe it humanizes them, but I always kind of feel like obviously the Knot's there, but I honestly feel like it's Rose. She's the number one. She's kind of like a cult leader and like absorbing all these people, sacrificing them so that she can get Abra. She's pretty fucked up.
Hell yeah. Well, there we go. At number one, I'm putting Rebecca Ferguson in her hat, Crow Daddy, and Friends. At number two, we have Jack and the Overlook Hotel. Now it's time to rank the Shining universe. I don't know why it makes me laugh so much. Like, I think it's something about the fact that, like, I don't think we're ever going to, and nor should we. This is the end, y'all. We do not need.
We'll get another one in 10 years.
Do you think so?
Yeah, we're gonna get some type of retelling of the actual Shining. and
If they call it
reboots and-
Abracadabra, I'm in.
No, we're never coming back to Doctor Sleep. This is never gonna come back ever again.
Oh, then what?
I'm saying The Shining. Like, we're gonna get a remake of The Shining. of
Oh,
some-
okay.
of some
Yeah,
guy.
maybe. Sure.
Yeah.
But
They
I'm saying
already
we're not
did a
continuing
miniseries,
this
though.
universe, even though they set it up. They're like, Abra got
No,
things to do.
I get what
She
you're
got
saying.
things
Well,
to do.
Stephen King said he might write another book with Abra as the main protagonist. So never say never, Roger.
They need
Yeah.
to go back
I mean,
and
We're at the
rewrite.
will of Stephen King, truly.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
his universe. We just live in it.
So
Yep.
true. It's
They
so
need to
true.
They need to get off their asses and make season 2 of The Outsider. That's what I want to see.
Never saw. I don't
The
know.
HBO
Oh,
miniseries,
that
The
sounds
Outsider.
good. It's good.
You should fucking watch that tonight. It is
Yeah.
terrifying. No, it's a
Season
really
two
good.
oh,
It's a
season
really
one.
good like October thing to start. It's fucking good.
Or
Ben Mendelsohn.
baseball kid murders.
Oh shit.
Oh
Oh,
shit.
yeah, that's wild.
So yeah, we need to rank The Shining and Doctor Sleep. I have a feeling this time, legitimately, I'm going to be in the minority. I would put this at number one. I don't think
would
it's
too.
like by a long shot. I think that The Shining's amazing. Legitimately, it blew me away from a cinematic perspective and a lot of just like what they did with music and framing of shots and just a lot of the storytelling of how like scary that movie was, because it legitimately was scary to me. But I enjoyed this one so much more, and I think that as a legacy sequel, like this really went full bore into it and like made the most of what it had of playing with the nostalgia of it, which I didn't even fucking have at all. But watching the movie last week, like Mike Flanagan did his homework to make sure that this added up and built off of the last movie. I can't believe how much of a sequel it was. Like it's starting off like right essentially weeks after the events of the first movie. I thought was really, really cool. And I compare this to the amount of legacy sequels we've had, and I don't think it's quite Top Gun Maverick, but it is so far from Beetlejuice. So I put this in number one. It's close, but I loved this movie in a way that I'm like, I would recommend people watch it. I don't know that I'd recommend people watch The Shining.
Wow.
Joey?
I also put this at number one.
Fuck yes.
I just I'm still surprised at how much I liked it. I think that the world building and doubling down on all of the magic stuff really was a benefit to this movie. I think the struggle between is it Jack or is it the hotel, it's like a little bit murkier in The Shining. And I like that we just dive fully into it. I think the performance is really great. Rebecca Ferguson, they do some fucked up shit, and I feel like the horror of this hits me harder than the horror of The Shining. They're hard to compare because they're like two totally
So
different
different.
kinds
Yeah.
of movies. But this is the one that I am always more inclined to rewatch over The Shining.
Roger.
I would watch The Shining 10 times before I watch Doctor Sleep again. I did not love this movie, and I loved watching The Shining, and I loved looking at it. There were moments in this movie where I just did not like looking at it. I got to be really honest. I thought the blue tones were kind of gross. There are some creative moments with the flying of Rebecca Ferguson and stuff, but it's just kind of was like, yeah, it's another movie that exists, and some of the CGI didn't work for me. The story contrast between The Shining and then being a legacy sequel, but then also trying to pay homage to the book and Stephen King, it was a little messy for me. So The Shining, number 1 by a bullet.
I would say, again, I don't hold The Shining so near and dear that I can't be critical of this. I think I'm with Tim. I think I just enjoy Doctor Sleep a little bit more. I think it has the benefit of just being a modern movie as well, and so it moves faster and it's edited more like a modern movie. And I think the world building of it is a lot more interesting to me than the slow, methodical pace of The Shining, which is a classic. I love it. I'll always appreciate and respect it, but it's not a classic that I super gravitate toward over and over again. So just based on its sole merits of entertainment value, I would say Doctor Sleep is number 1.
I'm shocked.
Madeline,
Madeline, what do you
Fucking
think?
Shocked.
Well, I thought I was going to be a tiebreaker here, but I did not wear my directed by my for nothing.
What a
I
reveal.
agree
Yeah.
with a lot of thoughts that y'all have said, which is just, I think it is hard because they are two extremely different movies. And I think there's a lot of merit to the Stanley Kubrick original Shining. It's obviously impeccably directed and beautiful. Whatever, there's a lot of issues with Stanley Kubrick that are on another whole conversation, but I am a really big Mike Flanagan fan. I think he's one of my favorite directors. I really like his point of view. I like the way that he gets these performances from his actors. I feel like this is just a more in-depth story that I feel like I can watch multiple times and get new things from it. I can always kind of pull different pieces, and it very much does live in that Stephen King universe, which I like to be in. So it's just a more fun experience to go back to multiple times and kind of live in the Stephen King universe, see what's going on there, and enjoy these like really awesome performances.
So you're going Dr. Sleep?
Dr. Sleep.
Well, there we go. Dr. Sleep, number
shit.
1. The Shining, number 2. I thought there was no chance.
I thought there was no chance either.
I don't think any of us thought.
What a day, everybody. Let us know in the comments below what you think of Dr. Sleep or The Shining, or if you haven't watched either, if we have motivated you to watch them. I would definitely recommend giving it a shot if the in-reviews were interesting to you. And next week, Venom, The Last Dance. It's happening, everybody.
can't wait.
Now, here's my thing. Just being real, all jokes aside,
Yeah.
I just hope that it's not as bad as Venom Let There Be Carnage, because that movie
bro.
to me was like insultingly bad. Like there was no joy in it.
Have you watched the trailer for this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
No, but there's joy to be had in this. There's dumb shit. in
There's a
this.
Venom horse.
There's gonna be
Yeah.
a dancing scene at
love
one
Yeah,
point.
like there has to be a dance. There has to be, or else
Did
we're
you
just.
see Megan Thee Stallion doing a commercial with Venom?
Oh,
Where she-
yeah,
where she was doing, they were
FaceTiming.
doing offs or whatever. It's like, what the fuck were you doing?
Hell yeah.
Some
I
good
mean, I'm
content.
in. I'm giving this movie a fair shake. Is it better than The Shining? Let's try it. Let's see.
Let's see, everyone. Yeah, we're doing a Venom Last Dance next week, and then the week after that will be Agatha All Along, returning to MCU in review. Yeah. Madeline, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere at Matt Exposure on Twitter and Blue Sky now, and Twitch and Instagram. Matt Exposure everywhere. Talking about horror movies, I love talking about them. It's been my absolute pleasure being on In Review. I love talking about movies with you guys.
It was
Hell
so fun.
yes. Thank you for joining us for this. And everyone else, till next time, shine on.
Shine